What's up? Ghost Fictions is here, and we're back again. This is the first part of a story where Issei fused with Kaguya and got all tailed beasts. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more informations. Now, let's get into part 1. Chapter 1. Kaguya's new partner. Kaguya felt it. First, it was the strong punch to the head by that pink-haired girl, then, it was the touch of those damn reincarnations. She knew what was to come next. She knew she was to be sealed away. Her power was stripped from her and split among those 9 beasts, yet she had a smile on her face. The rest of her chakra, which she had taken from those lowly humans, would not be returned to them. However, her soul would be lost to the ages yet again. It wasn't fair. Kaguya hadn't even been back a day, and she was yet again being sealed. She looked down and saw that black Zetsu was still pinned to the ground. The ground began to break apart and surround her in a stone prison. She needed to think of something, and something quick if she wanted any chance of escape. Then it hit her. Just before she was about to be sealed again for the second time, Kaguya OTSUTSUKI had one more trick up her sleeve. It would be risky, but at this point, it was better than nothing. Using a technique that had been passed down the OTSUTSUKI clan for ages as a way of prolonging their own lives, Kaguya split off a small piece of her chakra, along with her soul, and used them to create an OTSUTSUKI chakra seed based on herself. From here, she planned to plant the seed into the root of a host body's chakra system, in hopes that it would begin to spread and infect that body, and allow for her to be revived. As more rocks began to entomb her body, Kaguya quickly focused her chakra and split it off with her soul to form the seed. Kaguya watched as the small ball of chakra formed in front of her. It was about the size of a golf ball. As it finished forming, her vision began to fade. The last thing Kaguya saw was when it shot off to find a suitable host body. Her body began to wither and decay as she felt the rest of her chakra began to escape her. The small ball of chakra shot out of its rocky prison as it made its way to find a new host body to take. Kaguya then opened a portal beside the ball of chakra and it flew into the hole and left her world. Kaguya decided to leave her old world because she knew that as long as she stayed in it, her son's reincarnations, Naruto and Sasuke, would attempt to trap or even kill her. Still, they wouldn't expect that she was alive and inside a host in another dimension. Along with the others, she had been freed from their prison after taking back their powers. Kaguya felt her soul leave the dimensional portal she created and travel into a park, where she looked at the children playing in the park. The seed stayed hidden away from the children as Kaguya looked at them in hopes of finding a suitable host. However, none of the children had even interested her since they were weak and not that strong, nor did they hardly have any chakra that was suitable for a child back in the Hidden Leaf village. Kaguya was about to give up looking for a host in the park until she looked at a brown-haired boy who was sitting by a lake. All by himself. The boy had some scars on his hands as he bandaged them up. DCH. Those jerks. Who do they think they are calling me a demon? The boy said. Kaguya looked at him and saw that the boy had an amber right eye and a doe brown eye, creating an intimidating look in his eyes. This red and black hoodie jacket happens to have the Sharingan in its awakened form, making Kaguya surprised at this. Before the boy finished bandaging his fists, he put his hands in his pockets and put the hood up as he walked away from the park. DCH. Bastards don't know shit about me. The boy said before looking at his arms again and tightening the bandages some more while walking through the streets. Kaguya couldn't help but feel like the situation she was watching was familiar until she hit a realization. Naruto was called a demon because those foolish villagers thought he was the QB and not its jailer. But from the looks of things, it's not because this boy has something sealed in him. Maybe it's his eyes. Kaguya then floated near the boy as she observed him walking through town, helping and doing some good deeds. However, things turned bad quickly. Some people were scared of him as he tried to help an old lady who dropped her groceries. The crying child was lost trying to find her mother, who had almost called the cops on Issei, until the child stopped the mother from making the call. And lastly, the boy was picking up litter and throwing it away before a gang came up to him and wanted to fight him, which made the boy sigh before he beat the shit out of the whole gang black and blue without any injuries on himself, before looking at his hands and clenching them, seeing how red his bandages were now. Damn it. And I just bandaged them. Issei said while he looted their wallets and nodded at his stash before leaving them alone, as an ambulance came to pick them up a couple of minutes later. Kaguya narrowed her eyes to the people who were afraid of Issei. Stupid humans, he's the same as you, yet you turn away from him when he tries to be kind. TCH, it seems even in the future, humans will never change. Issei then returned home, where his mother hugged him, making him blush at the affection. His father looked at his hands and sighed. Issei. We talked about this. I don't ask them to fight me. It's their damn fault they pick fights with me. Issei shouted until Mickey tapped his head with her spoon and shook her head. You shouldn't say such things at your age and get into fights. I know it's hard for you, considering your eyes are heterochromatic and that your appearance scares people, but you shouldn't let that stop you from being a good person. Someday, you'll meet people who care about you and see you as the person you are. A kind and gentle soul who's behind a set of scary eyes. Just like your father was when I met him when I was a bit older than you. Mickey said with a giggle as Goro looked offended. Boy. I'll have you know some ladies like my bad boy look. Goro said while recalling his early days until Mickey put out the flame. And yet you only accepted my confession when we were a couple of years older than his age. Mickey said, causing Issei to snicker lightly and making Goro pout, which in turn made Mickey laugh. See, just like Issei. Damn woman. Goro said before Mickey kissed his cheek, making Goro submit to his wife. Kaguya, who kept herself hidden by a window, couldn't help but look on at the bond that Issei had with his family in jealousy. So this is what a family is like. Despite their differences and the trouble their son gets into, they continue to love and support him. It's nice. It makes me feel a bit jealous. Kaguya said as she followed Issei to his room. He punched the punching bag a few times before his hand started to bleed some more, making him groan at them. Damn it. I could keep going if it wasn't for that dumb gang coming to fight me. Issei said as he looked at his flip phone and looked for any messages and such, not seeing anything before Issei went to his computer and picked a game. Heh. It's the only game I have yet to complete. Prepare yourself, Harem King Warrior. At that moment, Kaguya learned why Issei found Harem so special. She grew extremely flustered at a few of the lewd-looking scenes. Just until Mickey called for Issei. Issei. You better not be playing that filth again. Issei gained a tick mark since Harem King Warrior may be M-rated, but it wasn't that bad since it had a great storyline, amazing characters, and graphics as well. Heck, even the relationships between the MC and NPCs are amazing, too, for teenagers and up. Of course, I'm not. I may be a little perverted, but I have standards in video games. Sure. Am I your father? Hey. Don't drag me into this. You know he gets his perverted side from you. One time. It was one time. Oh, it was more than one time since I happened to recall seeing a certain delinquent porn collection when he was convincing his mother that he didn't invite me over just to have sex. Mickey and Goro then began to argue until Mickey shouted at Issei. Issei. Dinner time. Stop masturbating and get down here. I'm coming, and I'm not masturbating. Kaguya watched as Issei ran down with a red angry face before she looked closer at the scene Issei hadn't skipped. The warrior woman on the screen was moaning as a male protagonist who was practically raw-dogging the woman with his sword. Kaguya blushed at the sight before coughing into her fist. She couldn't hesitate to tap the mouse to continue the scene, which made her so red that she was surprised she didn't burst into flames. She was so caught up in the game that she didn't feel Issei enter the room with a satisfied smile on his face after a hearty meal and a laugh from his parents before he sat down in the seat Kaguya was in, which caused something very awkward to happen. Ah. What just? Why do I sound like the boy? And why am I so short? Kaguya immediately realized what happened. As soon as she saw her skin color change, she paled so white that she almost turned into her skin tone. Oh crap, I didn't notice the boy and became his host by accident. Kaguya immediately went back inside Issei's consciousness before letting him take over again. Fuck me. Please have no memory of what happened. Kaguya said to herself, cursing from fusing with Issei, praying that Issei hadn't noticed what had just happened to him. Ugh. What the hell was that shit? Did I eat something bad? No. Mom would have been pissed if something was up with her food. Issei said before looking at his computer. Hey. Who skipped the scene? I remember pausing it for dinner. Sorry. This made Kaguya have the sudden urge to slap herself as Issei stopped what he was doing and looked around as he heard the voice. Okay, now I'm going crazy. Where are you, stalker? Come out and fight me. Issei said as he clenched his fists, ready to beat up the one who was messing with him. Kaguya put her hands over her mouth, making sure she wouldn't accidentally blurt out anything. Ignore the voice you heard. Ignore the voice you heard. Please, for the love of Kami, ignore the voice you heard. Issei looked round for a moment before sighing, thinking he was a bit lightheaded. Probably just my head. I need to sleep. Issei said as he turned off the game. He then went to sleep on his bed without changing into his pajamas, hitting the light switch, making Kaguya sigh in relief. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, let's look at the pros and cons. Pro. A host. Con. A boy, and I can't leave this body since it's a one-time jutsu. Arg. This is the worst. Why did it have to be a boy? Why not a punk girl or at least a baby instead of a boy? But then Kaguya realized something. Kaguya could have taken over the boy's body. Oh no. Issei was much too intriguing for her to possess and take over. Kaguya felt a need to help this boy, as life seemed to be rather hard on him. I'll watch over him for a year. Should I get bored of him, I'll take over his body. But should he keep my interest, I'll make him my kama. Kaguya said, and she didn't regret her decision since then. A year later. Ever since Kaguya decided to watch over Issei for the next year, she observed Issei sleeping and waking up the next day as he headed to school. Most of the days that passed made Kaguya feel bored with the schoolwork since she didn't understand what they were talking about. What's the point in learning this when they should be teaching children to defend themselves? Isn't that what ninjas teach their students? However, this teacher couldn't possibly be a ninja. She's weak and has barely any chakra in her. How disappointing. However, as boring as the classes were, Kaguya was always super interested in what Issei did before school and after school. Kaguya did have to mute the outside world when Issei needed his privacy or when he needed to relieve himself. Kaguya was also surprised that Issei was the older brother of a little girl who was in a hospital and needed treatment for an extremely rare illness. Issei's little sister, Rin, was a sweet little girl who always had a large smile on her face. She seemed to be the sun that lit up Issei's smile, since the boy cared for her and used the money he took from the gangs to support his sister's treatment and to help out the family. Kaguya was also amazed at how Issei trained in taijutsu and used weaponry to beat his opponents. Granted, Issei was a bit of a rookie when it came to fighting, given his style, but it was impressive nonetheless. Kaguya smiled as she truly enjoyed the months that she spent watching over Issei and took notes on how to help him with not just his training, but also possibly helping his little sister feel better from her illness. As the months quickly passed by, Issei was now 14 and Rin was 11 years old. Kaguya smiled and wished Issei a happy birthday, making sure she didn't let him hear her. Kaguya had seen so many sides of Issei and swiftly became attached to him, which is why once Issei's birthday hit, she finally made her choice. I've decided I shall make Issei come my kama. As much as I wished I was in a girl's body, this boy was far stronger than any girl or other boy I could have picked. Which is an understatement, considering that the female gang leader who goes to his school is as oblivious to her feelings as my son Naruto. Kaguya said that she decided to make her appearance known by clearing her throat before speaking to Issei. Hello Issei. It's a pleasure to meet you face to face, to say the least, finally. Issei froze since he had recognized this voice from a year ago. Holy shit. You're that voice I heard last year. Where are you? Show yourself. I'm afraid that's impossible, as I am in your mind. Issei looked around due to the fact that he was in his room before settling in his chair. Okay, look, I don't know what kind of prank this is, but who the hell are you? And what are you doing in my head? Issei asked as Kaguya replied. My name is Kaguya. I've actually been in you for a year now, and it was actually accidental due to you sitting on me when you were playing that. Interesting G-game. Issei blushed profusely, realizing Kaguya had seen his games, but her name also shocked him. Wait. Kaguya. Like Kaguya OTSUTSUKI. Yes. You know of me? Know of you? You're like one of the most powerful and beautiful women in the Naruto series besides Tsunade Senju, Anko, Ino, Tamari, and Mate Terumi. Kaguya blushed at Issei, calling her beautiful. Why do I get the feeling this isn't going to be the only time the boy will compliment me like that? Kaguya asked herself while Issei continued. Well, I was wondering how a powerful being like you got beat by Naruto and Sasuke, considering you are a powerful goddess, and yet got beaten by that pathetic reverse harem jutsu. Really? Talk about a letdown. Plus, why didn't you attack Sakura, Kakashi, and Obito first? Had you focused on them and not listened to Black Zetsu, then you could have taken down their healer and 2 Sharingan users. Heck, the only reason Boruto was any good was because of Sarada and your clan. Issei suddenly felt his body black out, but before Issei could even question what had happened to him, he opened his eyes to see that Issei was in a fancy Japanese penthouse. Issei then turned to see Kaguya with a cloud of depression over her head as she sat down in a corner. Are you Kaguya? Issei asked as the woman turned around, slowly raised her head, and meekly nodded. Why yes. How do you like the penthouse? Kaguya asked as she gestured to the area around her, which made Issei check it out before nodding. Not bad. So. Would you bring me here? To chat or wait, you are not going to do that scenario where you take my body and eat my soul, are you? Because if you want me, then you'll have to kill me first. Issei said as he had his fists ready to punch the woman. Kaguya giggled lightly and gave Issei a small smile. Well, originally, I did plan on taking over your body. Kaguya rose to her feet before she began walking over to Issei. But after getting to know you for a whole year, I've come to care for you, Issei-kun. Issei blushed at the affectionate suffix before Kaguya stopped in front of the boy. Kaguya then knelt at Issei's level before she caressed his cheek. Issei Haidu, I want you to become my kama. Issei was surprised by this before asking. And when you say kama, do you mean your host? Issei asked as Kaguya nodded. That's correct. Basically, you would have my power and be able to train in using it, however, I'll also be able to take over when necessary. For now, I've stopped the process as I've observed you, and I'd like to say that this is a permanent solution, because if you deny my offer, I'll kill you and take your body, making it my new body. Kaguya said with a serious look as she held a hand out for him. She asked in a scary, sweet voice and smiled. So is it a deal then? Issei looked at Kaguya before he smacked her hand away. Kaguya thought Issei refused until he spoke up. Let's get a few things straight, lady. If I become your kama, no trying to scare me into anything. I'm going to become your kama, which means we need to work together, right? Kaguya nodded as she stood up. Of course, but was that not how one normally forms a deal with others? I used that game you played called Grand Theft Auto, as well as some of the anime you watch. Is that not how one makes a contract? Kaguya asked as she tried to modify her communication and negotiation skills. Issei deadpanned before he facepalmed. I swear, if you thought those video games and anime were based on real life, as beautiful as you are, I'm going to slap you. Kaguya then flicked his forehead and asked. Didn't your mother teach you not to speak to a lady that way? This coming from a woman who got beaten by a half-assed jutsu and sealed away by her son's reincarnations. Again, might I add. At first, Kaguya didn't say anything in response, but then she glowed white. The light was so bright it covered Issei and the whole penthouse, and he woke up in a cold sweat. Holy shit. Was it all a dream? Issei asked himself as he looked in the mirror. His eyes were the same as always until he saw a small mark form on his palm. The mark was a diamond shape that looked like petals on all four sides. What the fuck is this? Issei said as a voice answered for him. This is the mark signifying you as my kama. Issei said before he shook his head. His reflection became Kaguya and she waved to him in the mirror. Hello, my kama. Issei looked over at Kaguya before he looked away with a blush. Curse you and that damn body of yours. Kaguya smirked. Please, you are 1,000 years too young to be looking at me with such a raunchy gaze. Ahaha. Ha. Okay, so this mark is to show I'm your kama. Now what? I shoot lasers from my eyes? Issei asked, making Kaguya chuckle at him. Of course not. It would be best if you had more time to be ready to do that. For now, you should focus on learning E-rank jutsu, such as substitute jutsu and cloning. Perhaps some genjutsu as well so you can have a bigger arsenal than your fighting style with your bat and fists. You're mocking me, aren't you? Oh, heavens no. I don't find your fighting style to be obvious, pathetic, and left with so many openings. Or the fact that you wield a weapon that could easily break after being used so often, leaving you completely and utterly defenseless. Furthermore. Kaguya rattles on before Issei gets the gist of it. Alright. I fucking get it. Issei yelled before sighing to himself. But it's not like there's a place where I can learn how actually to fight. Plus, most of the places around here are just malls, arcades, and shit. There is no place where one can actually fight. Most boring place unless you're on a vacation. Issei said as he grumbled while checking out his metal bat before testing his swings. Still good. I still think a katana would suit you more. Issei raised a brow at this before realizing that Kaguya's mindset was still in her age and time. Yeah. Cause a sharp weapon is good for a kid. Oh please, I've seen kids at the age of 5 learn how to use a tanto blade. Yeah, that was during your time, but guess what? It isn't the Edo period anymore. Kaguya pouted at the so-called laws and restraints of this world before sighing at her partner. Okay. Then we're going to have to go with learning ninjutsu and genjutsu. I can give you some pointers into jutsu, but some better teachers can give you lessons on hand-to-hand combat. I'm more of a powerful goddess that crushes my foes with my power. Kaguya said smugly until Issei replied. And yet you fainted at an illusion of a reverse harem. Stop reminding me of that, you cute little brat. Oh? I'm cute, am I? I guess I really do have some charm. Issei said with a cocky smile before Kaguya yelled back at him. Oh please, that was just a slip of the tongue. Whatever you say, sweetheart. Don't call me that, it sounds lewd. Kaguya yelled at Issei, which made him chuckle at his partner before he looked at the mark, realizing that this might be his chance to save his little sister from the pain she was in and give her a chance to live as a normal girl. I promise you, Rin. I'll save you. Issei said to himself as the duo began to look towards the future. The next day. Now that you're my kama and it's the weekend, I wanted to inform you that I'm not alone in your body. This will allow you to not only become stronger, but also better understand the powers you have as my kama. Kaguya explained that Issei was in an abandoned part of the forest, wearing a sweatshirt and exercise shorts. Okay then. So how will this work? Issei asked how the training was supposed to work when Kaguya replied to him. Did you draw the seal I told you to draw yesterday? Yes. Good, and since you have a grasp of chakra already, it's time to perform a summoning jutsu, but this one will allow you to summon your first teacher from within. Kaguya said before Issei did the hand signs that he saw in the show, which was a hobby of his since Issei liked the idea of doing hand signs if he ever got superpowers. Issei then placed his hands on the seal before activating the jutsu. Summoning jutsu? Issei said before the seal began to glow as a being emerged from the seal. So you are the Kama of Kaguya? I can tell you a brat, but you got some guts. A voice said until the smoke faded to see a red-furred and green-skinned monkey with a body build of a gorilla. It has eyes with yellow irides and white pupils, spike-like protrusions along the length of its tails, elongated blunt fangs, and 2 long horns curving upwards on its forehead like a crown. Both its fangs and horns are dark-tipped. In its mouth, he doesn't have a tongue, but has an opening that is shaped like a dome volcano. The king of the sage monkeys, Son Goku the four-tailed beast. Issei said in awe before bowing to the legendary king, making Son Goku surprised by the boy's actions before laughing heartily. Ahahaha. You have manners and show respect to me. I'm glad to see that at least manners haven't died in this era. Son Goku said before Issei replied to him. But of course. You are one of the great-tailed beasts that was sold as a tool for war until the sage of the 6 paths passed away and you bonded with your former host, Rumshaya the Wagakure. Issei said, making Son Goku surprised at hearing how the boy knew the name of his previous host before recalling how Kaguya explained to him and his siblings about Issei knowing of their world since the humans of the future saw it in a show called an anime. Interesting. Then, if you are aware of who I am, you'll know that you must earn my respect to gain my full power. For now, you are a rookie who's just getting his feet wet, but by the time I'm done with you, then you'll be a warrior in no time. Son Goku said while flexing his arms to show his strength, which impressed Issei before he bowed to his sensei. I am ready, Goku sensei. Issei said, making Son Goku laugh at the boy before getting serious. Very well then. We'll begin by training, so I hope you have a strong stomach since you'll be training a lot for the next couple of weeks. Son Goku said that before the training began, Issei was doing chakra control exercises, which he worked on in the morning and evening as part of his workout. Your chakra control right now is much higher than even a Jinchuriki, and you aren't some god, so you must train your body and spirit to handle that much chakra. Issei kept listening to his sensei while training when doing free running, parkour, push-ups, sit-ups, and yoga, which was a surprising one to do until Son Goku explained how it would be helpful for him in the long run. Still, the hardest part of his training was Taijutsu. Kaguya assisted in chakra control lessons because she wanted to assist her partner. She also gave him advice when Issei struggled, which impressed Son Goku, since he thought Issei would have been too prideful to ask for help in his training. This led to the Four Tails being a bit jealous of Kaguya hogging the attention of his new student, which resulted in Son Goku upping Issei's training. And by training, it was mostly Issei fighting Son Goku, when in reality, Issei was learning how to use walking on water, tree climbing, and chakra control even faster through this process. Come on. Catch my tailed beast ball. Not exactly easy when I'm dodging and trying not to get killed. Issei yelled back before dodging another fireball from Son Goku. Issei's training with the Four Tails was intense, since Issei had seen how powerful the Jinchuriki was with the Four Tails, but the tailed beast was much stronger than the fusion form. Son Goku taught Issei different fire techniques such as the Fireball Jutsu, Fox Fire, Blazing Meteors, Flame Whirlwind, and Dragon Flame Release Song for fire style. Earth techniques were more difficult for Issei than most of the other techniques, since Issei learned better on his feet, as earthbenders did in Avatar. However, in Naruto's world, they still use chakra, which made Issei combine the two styles, so he could still use chakra, but without spewing dirt in his mouth. Son Goku was impressed and intrigued by the idea. Hence, he taught Issei a few defensive and offensive techniques rather than offensive, such as the Bedrock Coffin, Bullet Rock, Double Suicide Decapitation, Earth Dragon Bullet, Earth Flow River, Earth Shore Return, Golem, Earth and Stone Dragon, Rock Gun, and Fist Rock Technique. Issei didn't stop there as he improvised his training by blindfolding himself to force Issei to heighten not just his other senses, but to feel the earth with the chakra in his feet while dodging the tailed beast ball, along with deflecting the fireballs from Son Goku. This impressed Son Goku and Kaguya, who had been watching him and assisting him with traveling to the other dimensions that she could easily access to train without any issues. The boy is growing much stronger thanks to his determination to defeat me in battle. I'm looking forward to that day. Son Goku said before Kaguya replied to him. Issei has shown much growth, but I wonder if the others will agree to assist Issei in his training, since I know they have reservations about me keeping you all within me, while letting your hosts live. Kaguya said since she struck a deal with the tailed beasts and offered them a chance to escape the confinements of their Jinchuriki in exchange, she would ensure their former partners would be able to live without them. I had no qualms with leaving our previous home, since while the war may have ended, the villages still would have kept us as tools for war, since there can never truly be an era of peace, for where there is light, there is always darkness, and just like in peaceful times, there shall be moments where chaos will come to destroy it. Son Goku said before seeing Issei asleep next to his sister in her hospital bed. The others may come around eventually, but for now, I'll continue to do all I can to help him. And I as well. Kaguya replied to Son Goku, before the two looked within Issei's soul to see that there were 7 other gates where they were sealed in, and could leave to assist Issei, but the others hadn't awakened yet. Perhaps one day they'll wake up and assist our new partner, and all of us will be able to leave after we finish training the boy for you, Kaguya, since, let's be honest, you're great in jutsu, but not so good in other areas like we are. Son Goku said, making Kaguya pout at this, making the Four Tails laugh at her reaction. It definitely was going to be an interesting couple of years. Unbeknownst to them, 2 others were beginning to wake up and would soon learn that they were not sealed by Sasuke or by their previous hosts. 2 years later. 2 years had passed since Issei first became Kaguya's Kama. He enjoyed training and learning from Kaguya and the other tailed beasts, including Son Goku. After 2 years, Issei was able to meet the 1-tailed, 2-tailed, 3-tailed, 5-tailed, 6-tailed, and 7-tailed beasts, but 8 and 9 were still asleep, which was understandable since the 2 were the strongest of the tailed beasts. Issei enjoyed chatting with each of the tailed beasts, and granted, their relationship was a bit rocky at first, since some of them weren't pleased with being in another host, until Issei made a promise that he would find a way to free them, so they could enjoy his world, and still be able to use the power they taught him. Son Goku then explained that each of them would have Issei face a trial, since they didn't mind teaching the boy, but the tailed beasts wanted to test Issei in more than combat like the Monkey King. Flashback. Meeting Shukaku. As Issei approached the ethereal realm where the tailed beasts resided within his soul, he felt a surge of anticipation and determination. The first to greet him was Shukaku, the one-tail, a massive tanuki with a mischievous glint in his eye. Shukaku challenged Issei with a mental fortitude test. Let's see if your mind can withstand my power. Shukaku growled, unleashing a barrage of mental assaults. Issei, drawing on his experiences from training with Kaguya and Son Goku, barely withstood the onslaught, though his willpower was unyielding. Through this, he gained Shukaku's respect and learned the importance of mental resilience and strategic thinking. Impressive, and while I am impressed with how you're using Earth-style jutsu, I will teach you how to use my power as the ultimate weapon. Shukaku said with Issei looking forward to training under the tailed beast. Encounter with Matatabi. Next, Issei encountered Matatabi, the 2 tails, a majestic blue flaming cat with a serene demeanor. Matatabi tested Issei's agility and precision. Can you keep up with my speed? She challenged, darting around at blinding speeds. Issei struggled initially, but through perseverance and adapting his natural reflexes and combat instincts, he eventually matched her pace. This trial honed his speed and precision, crucial for his future battles. Meeting Isobu. Issei's encounter with Isobu, the 3 tails, was a test of endurance and adaptability. Isobu, a colossal turtle with a spiked shell, challenged him to a prolonged underwater battle in a vast mystical lake. Issei had to adapt his fighting style to the aquatic environment, learning to conserve his energy and use his surroundings to his advantage. The trial pushed him to his limits, but in the end, he emerged victorious, earning Isobu's respect and gaining invaluable lessons in endurance and adaptability. Encounter with Kakum. Issei then faced Kakum, the 5 tails, a majestic white horse-like beast with dolphin features. Kakum's trial was one of sheer power and control. Show me the extent of your strength without losing control. Kakum demanded. Issei had to channel his inner power while maintaining precise control to avoid causing unnecessary destruction. This trial helped Issei master the balance between raw power and finesse. Meeting Seiken. Seiken, the 6 tails, a slug-like creature covered in a sticky substance, posed a different kind of challenge. Seiken's trial focused on resilience and overcoming obstacles. Can you navigate through my corrosive mist and sticky traps? Seiken asked, enveloping Issei in a hazardous environment. Issei had to develop creative strategies and rely on his natural regenerative abilities to push through. This trial enhanced his problem-solving skills and resilience under pressure. Encounter with Shmei. Finally, Issei met Shmei, the 7 tails, a giant beetle with rainbow-colored wings. Shmei's trial tested Issei's adaptability and ability to harness different elements. Can you handle the power of nature? Shmei inquired, bombarding Issei with a combination of wind, water, and lightning attacks. Issei had to integrate various elemental defenses and attacks into his fighting style, broadening his combat versatility. For 2 years, Issei trained relentlessly, integrating the lessons learned from each tailed beast into his combat repertoire. He meditated with Shukaku to strengthen his mental resilience, sparred with Matatabi to refine his agility and precision, and practiced underwater combat techniques inspired by Asobu. With Kakum's guidance, he mastered the balance between power and control, while Seiken's trials made him adept at overcoming environmental challenges. Chimei's influence broadened his elemental manipulation, making him a more versatile fighter. Issei also spent time mastering his unique abilities, pushing his physical and spiritual limits to new heights. He learned to enter heightened states of awareness and power more efficiently, discovering new techniques and abilities within himself. Through these trials and rigorous training, Issei emerged stronger, more resilient and versatile, ready to face the challenges that awaited him. The bonds he forged with the tailed beasts deepened his understanding of power and responsibility, especially since he had some trouble hiding it when he learned how to summon more than one of them at once. However, when they were training in one of Kaguya's personal dimensions, Issei released a powerful tailed beast ball, comprised of the elements fire, water, earth, air, lightning, yin, and yang. Issei's skills in yin and yang were the most difficult for him to master, since they were different from bending the elements for the ninjutsu techniques he was performing in his training. Elemental fusion tailed beast ball. Issei shouted as he kicked the massive beast ball. A rift opened in Kaguya's dimension, shocking Issei before a massive red dragon over 100 meters long came through. It had 4 colossal wings and looked like a western dragon. The creature's golden eyes glowed with intensity as it did a barrel roll, dodging the elemental fusion tailed beast ball in a sharp turn. Issei gawked with disbelief as the enormous red dragon flew over him, letting out a loud vrooming shriek. Great Red flew over and around him in a circle as his eyes locked onto Issei in his warrior attire that comprised, which was very impressive in the eyes of the massive dragon. Issei's training attire was a long flowing robe made of a silky, almost otherworldly fabric that shimmered with a faint iridescent glow. The robe was predominantly white, reminiscent of Kaguya OTSUTSUKI's garb, but with intricate patterns and accents that represented the tailed beasts. These patterns were woven with chakra-infused threads that changed colors, cycling through the elemental hues of each tailed beast. Red for Shukaku, blue for Matatabi, green for Asobu, yellow for Kakum, purple for Seiken, and indigo for Chimei. The robe's sleeves were wide and billowing, providing both an elegant appearance and freedom of movement. Each sleeve bore an intricate design. One displayed the swirling patterns of the tailed beast's tails, while the other showcased the elemental symbols associated with each beast. These designs pulsed with chakra, enhancing Issei's ability to channel the tailed beast's powers. Beneath the robe, Issei wore a form-fitting black bodysuit made of a flexible, breathable material that provided comfort and protection. This bodysuit was reinforced with chakra-conductive fibers, enhancing his durability and chakra control during intense training sessions. The bodysuit featured subtle, luminescent lines that traced the flow of his chakra, creating a mesmerizing display of energy. Around his waist, a wide, dark obi belt cinched the robe, which was adorned with ornate silver fastenings, engraved with the symbols of the tailed beasts. The belt not only secured the robe, but also housed several hidden compartments for storing essential tools and weapons, blending practicality with elegance. Issei's hands and forearms were protected by sleek white gauntlets that extended to his elbows. These gauntlets were made of a lightweight yet durable material, and were engraved with runic symbols that glowed softly, channeling and amplifying his chakra. His fingers were free, allowing for precise hand movements and jutsu execution. His legs were clad in matching white leggings that tucked into sturdy black boots. These boots were designed for agility and stability, with soles that provided excellent grip and shock absorption. The boots were decorated with subtle patterns that echoed the robe's designs, maintaining the overall aesthetic harmony. Issei's head was adorned with a headpiece inspired by the OTSUTSUKI clan's traditional attire. It featured a crescent moon symbol, representing his connection to the tailed beasts and their combined power. The headpiece was made of lightweight metal and had an elegant, streamlined design, holding his hair back and completing his regal appearance. Draped over his shoulders was a high-collared, sleeveless mantle that added a layer of mystique and authority to his outfit. On the back, this mantle bore the combined symbol of the tailed beasts, a testament to his unique position as their partner and protector. Kaguya? What the hell do we do? Issei asked seriously as the colossal dragon began to snarl and vroom loudly. What the fuck are you staring at? Great Red demanded as he flew around in front of Issei, who was looking down at him with a stoic glare. To say he was intimidated by the Great Red Dragon of Dragons was an understatement. Issei had no idea what to say, but thankfully, Kaguya spoke for him. We were just training, Sir Dragon, but you intruded in my dimension. I believe you owe my partner an apology for getting in your way. An apology? You should be grateful I don't squash the brat here and now. But I'm too tired, so I'll let you go. Get out of here unless you have a death wish. This is my turf. Great Red said in a low, delinquent tone. Issei, the dragon, reminded him a lot of the giant toad that Jiraiya summoned, which was arrogant but wise and seemed unusual for a mythical creature of legend. Good. Now shoo, shoo. Kaguya said with a hand motion that made the dragon click in annoyance at her. Shoo, shoo. Really? And what are you even doing here? I don't like shady business. The dragon grunted until Issei replied. We were training in Kaguya's dimension. I was doing it here so that I could keep my identity and the others within me a secret, Issei explained to the Titanic dragon. Just call me Red. None of that great red god emperor or dragon of dragons bullshit. I'm not some great messiah for you little whelps to gawk at, Red said threateningly. Okay then, Red, no disrespect, but Kaguya Goku-sensei, the others, and I need this place to train in secret. I honestly never expected to see a giant dragon in here. I thought this place was infinite and others couldn't enter unless Kaguya allowed them to enter, Issei explained. HMPH. So you're training here to avoid being discovered by the angels, devils, and gods? Red asked. Issei nodded but was surprised to hear this before keeping his expression a secret from the dragon. Yeah, that's right. I want to keep my powers a secret so they can't bother me or interfere with my life until I'm more powerful. When they finally show up, I want to be so much stronger than them that I ultimately crush them and everyone else who gets in my way. After that, I want to live my life without anyone bothering me or telling me what to do, and maybe pick up a couple of girls along the way, too. Red started laughing as his mood immediately lightened up. Ahahaha. Now, that's a pretty good reason to train here. I wasn't expecting that. You don't want to rule the world or destroy it. You want to be free and unstoppable. I like you, kid. You're just like me. Issei, learning and seeing full well what kind of personality Red had at this point, decided to go along with his compliment. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've ever wanted. I don't care much for all this drama between mythical factions. I'm glad that Kaguya encouraged me not to get involved with any of it yet. I just want to be strong enough to where nobody ever fucks with me. Heh. I like that. You and your friends are free to hang out here and in the dimensional gap. Train hard, kid, and stay out of my way if you see me coming, Red said with a chuckle as he began to turn. Seeing an opportunity in front of him, Issei called out. Wait. I don't want to bother you or anything, but is it cool if we hang out with you in here? I fly alone. Why do you want to come with me anyway? Red asked strongly. I know you're a badass outlaw and all that good stuff, but I just thought it'd be cool to train with the strongest dragon in the universe, Issei suggested. You're pushing it, kid. I don't have time for that, Red said disapprovingly. Issei frowned before walking away from the dragon. Too bad. Here, we could make a dragon gang or something. Eh? Dragon gang, you say? Hahaha, well, that's a first. I don't think I've ever heard that before. Great Red laughed. Kaguya then pulled Issei aside and spoke to him seriously. What are you doing, partner? He's already granted us the freedom to train alone and in his world. Don't antagonize him any further. He wants to be left alone. Not to mention, dragons, by nature, are selfish and territorial, just like most of the tailed beasts. The idea of them being in a gang is unheard of. Hey, brat, what's your name? Red asked. Issei Haidu, Issei said immediately. I like the way you think. Everyone would think twice about crossing us dragons if we made our gang rival theirs. You've convinced me. Now we need a cool name, Red said with an unusual enthusiasm. I can't believe he's going for this. Kaguya seemed to be in disbelief that Issei was actually convincing Great Red to train him with Son Goku and the others being interested in the turn of events. Maybe Beasts of Discord. That's a cool, rebellious name and fits with the tailed beasts within me, Issei said before performing the summoning jutsu and bringing out the tailed beasts, who were interesting to Great Red before he nodded in response to seeing the men laughing to the heavens. Ahahaha. You and I are going to be good friends, kid. Let's go flying, and I'll train you a bit. If you're going to be my wingman, you gotta be as tough as I am, Red said enthusiastically, with Issei excited about this opportunity, along with Son Goku, Shukaku, and Matatabi. Isobu, Kakam, and Seiken sighed, knowing the four idiots would be ecstatic for this chance to fight and train even more, while Chimei imagined all of them, all 9-tailed beasts with Great Red and Kaguya behind them, while Issei was in his future sage form. Oh, I can't wait to make new outfits for this gang, Chimei said in excitement, while Kaguya wondered what the heck was happening to them and how they were forming a gang now, of all things. I'm going to get a headache from this, though I can see this being an interesting opportunity for us to form our organization like the OTSUTSUKI, Kaguya said. This might be a great opportunity for the future, especially if they're dealing with creatures like angels, fallen, and devils. Chapter 2. The Delinquent's New Life. Guo Town was a nice and quiet place for the residents to enjoy the day with work, school, and relaxation. Unfortunately, that peace was ruined by the gangs within the town. They thought they could take over the town, since the people didn't really put up a fight. Unfortunately, the gangs that tried to take over the town were unaware of the two infamous delinquents already in charge of the streets of Kuo town. The first delinquent was a 17-year-old girl named Zoe. She was the leader of the Thunder Beasts, which was named after a character in a game she loved to play as a kid before her gang turned against her. Which led to Zoe taking them down with a little help from a friend of hers, who amazed a female punk before she became a deadlier foe to gangs and wannabe delinquents who tried to mess with her neighborhood in the northern part of Kuo town. Zoe was a young lady wearing delinquent punkish attire consisting of a knitted cap with cat ear-like protrusions, a short-collared jacket with a red armband worn on the left sleeve, a tube top with a black marking, resembling that of her favorite pocket monster from her game, Grisbolt, a two-layered short skirt secured by a belt, a torn stocking worn on the right leg, and a belt worn on the left leg, all in a black and pink color palette. Her eyes are pink, and her long hair is tied up in two high pigtails. The left one is black, while the right one is pink. Hanging off her left hip is a super deformed Grisbolt toy. Before Zoe became a delinquent, she was a kid who looked after her mother due to her father, leaving both of them when he got terminally sick and wasn't able to get to the hospital in time due to gangs destroying the trucks and harming innocent people. So Zoe vowed to protect her mother's workplace when gangs began to threaten the safety of not just her mother and her associates, but also the patients at the hospital. Zoe's main weapon was a staff that she was made for, which allowed her to conduct electricity and strike her enemies. Still, she was also a deadly fighter with her fists, since she also had gauntlets that shocked her enemies with different voltage levels, ranging from taser levels to lightning strikes. Zoe's staff was even able to turn into a sail that could be used as a hand fan and create powerful tornadoes and wind blades, thanks to her training with her partner and sensei. Zoe was a smart girl who was a genius in science, but used those smarts to protect the streets on her side from harm, and her only friend in the town in the southern area of Kuo town. The Sage of the Tailed Beasts. Issei Haidu is also a delinquent who is deadly in terms of armed weaponry and hand-to-hand combat, and uses the elements to get the jump on his opponents. From what Zoe recalled, when they were 13, Issei was very well known in the city as a troublemaker or a demon due to his unique eyes, which got him in trouble. However, Zoe could tell that Issei was a good person and reached out to him, which made Issei smile. That one person was willing to give him a chance, which helped his social skills somewhat and made his parents so happy, much to Issei's embarrassment and Zoe's amusement. The two friends were also rivals and fellow delinquents, since they wished to protect the town from gangs and those who wanted to harm the community. So they worked together, which also led to them bonding over their favorite anime series and comics. Zoe learned about Issei's ability to manipulate chakra and having the 10-tailed beast within Issei. Zoe was shocked at this before Issei offered to have Zoe be part of his gang, which made Zoe deny the offer, but willing to join him in training, since he'd need someone to watch his back. But Issei didn't mind before the duo began their training with Zoe copying some of the techniques from the lightning and wind users, while training and using a sword and fan like a certain wind user from the Sand Village. Zoe was amazed to see the actual tailed beasts before her and loved to train under Seiken and Chimei. The two tailed beasts were amazed by her knowledge of science, so they crafted a special weapon for Zoe to utilize that big brain of hers. That way, Zoe would be able to protect herself and her loved ones. Zoe was now tired as she walked to her school to start her second year of high school. Great. Another year, another migraine. Why did my mother send me to this academy? I was fine with a less stressful and stuck-up school. Zoe said before sensing a familiar presence approaching her from behind, which made her turn around to see Issei standing upside down on a tree branch that was next to her. Morning, Zoe. Ready for a new year? Says the man who enjoyed his first year by being injured from gang-related activities. Zoe said, making Issei chuckle in response. Then, the two began to race each other by leaping from tree branches to flagpoles and even power lines, all the way to their school, while recalling their first years, which was fun for both. Due to a stroke of genius on both sides, Zoe and Issei managed to forge paperwork that said they were hospitalized and that he had to do his schoolwork from home. Both Zoe and Issei only ever showed up to take exams and would surprisingly always make perfect scores, despite their lack of interest in the academics taught. Unfortunately, nothing good lasted forever as their excuses and forgery eventually ran out. Despite not really caring about school, both Issei and Zoe still had a matter of pride to finish, just so their parents wouldn't go off the deep end and worry about them. So, with a reluctant sigh, they made their way to school for the brand new second year at Kuo Academy. Kuo Academy. Sona Citri was pushing up her glasses as she looked over the two files of possible candidates to join her peerage. One problem was that despite their exceptional grades and performance in physical exams, they were troublemakers and delinquents who didn't seem to care much about the rules of their academy, which was shown when they showed up in their regular attire instead of the school uniform. Sona proved this, having encountered both Zo, the lightning serpent, and Issei Haidu, the sage of the tailed beasts, when they were out due to their medical condition. Sona could tell they were fake, but despite knowing this, she let it slide since she observed them from afar and could tell that both of them were much stronger than an average human. Issei was definitely strong since he had his reputation back when he was called a demon back in his middle school years. Still, the so-called demon didn't care and released his frustrations in the ring. Granted, they didn't do traditional martial arts or fighting. Issei did specialize in combat and weaponry. Zo, on the other hand, was the opposite since she was skilled in weapons, but needed to be stronger in hand-to-hand combat. She was good for defense, but when it came to offense, her style was more of a boxer that relied on speed and stamina. Hopefully, I can convince one of them to join my peerage, since they'll be an excellent addition to my peerage, and I still have 3 pawns and a rook left in my set. Although, I can imagine Rias will try to reach out to Zo more than Issei, since she thinks Issei is more like Riser, which isn't wrong in some cases, especially when he defeats his opponents. Sona said under her breath as she watched the other students pass by them. They were so busy in their chatter that they didn't hear a word the student council president said to herself. Unfortunately, her peace was interrupted by 2 voices with which she was very familiar. "Victory!" Issei shouted after landing on the ground with Zo behind him with a pout. "You cheated. Hey, there was no rule about using a shortcut to get to the school faster. Damn it. I hate it when you use logic on me, you lizard." Big talk coming from the gorilla woman. "Say that again, and I'll show you why I'm a lion instead. Only if you're ready to face a dragon again, kitty cat. Bring it, dragon breath." Zo shouted, and they both glared at each other, so hard sparks could have been created. Sona was nervous since she was about to order her peers to interfere, but they both began to laugh heartily, as if they were telling a funny joke to each other. "Ah, a good way to start the morning off, huh? Absolutely. Especially if we got to sit in boring classes for another 8 hours talking about shit we already know," Zo said before blowing a bubble at Popper and chewing her minty gum some more until she could no longer taste the flavor and spat it in the grass. This made Sona's eyebrows twitch almost out of control since her peerage had to deal with Zo, and her gum issues ended up in the grass or under her desk, which was a pain to clean up. The dark-haired student council president then decided to give her warning to her most troublesome students before Sona adjusted her glasses as she locked eye contact for a brief moment with the passing Issei and Zo. They both immediately stopped walking as Issei turned to face her while Zo flipped off the woman. "What are you looking at, but you? We didn't break any of your prissy rules or get into any fights. Plus, the school hasn't begun, so fuck off, bitch." The comment and question made the students freeze as they looked at the only 2 brave enough to say such things to the ICE president of the student council. "Nice of you both to come to school. I see your health as well, considering you both were able to go about your free running and landed in front of the school," Sona said passively, her tone clearly indicating that she was well aware that neither of them was actually sick during their time off. "Yeah, we're all healed up now," Issei replied carelessly. "If the interrogation is done, little princess, then we'll get moving," Zo said before Sona raised an arm to stop them. "I heard a lot of rumors that both of you are troublemakers, so make sure you keep your nose clean, or I'll get you expelled. Understood, Haidu-san?" "Zo-san," Sona said fearlessly while Issei raised a brow at the comment. Zo's eyes narrowed at the bitch in front of her eyes. "I don't know, Zo. Was that a threat? Can't she, the student council president, make threats like that to 2 students who have done no wrong?" Zo smiled as she played along. "Oh no, of course not. That would be an abuse of power, and I can only imagine what would happen if the principal heard how the president abuses her power by threatening students, using her office as a sex closet for her bimbo girlfriend, and making out with that other bimbo and her assistant." Sona's cheeks turned cherry red as she yelled at them both. "I am not in a relationship with Rias, Akeno, or Tsubaki." "Really, because you 4 have never dated a guy before in your life?" Zo said before Issei continued the fun. "You hang out with each other all the time. You're both childhood friends. Plus, I remember seeing you leave the student council with messy hair and a uniform before Tsukabi left with you. And there's the kiss that occurred with you and Red Bimbo just last semester." Sona's face turned from cherry red to chili pepper red as she covered her face at the rumors, even though they weren't true. Sure, Rias and Sona were childhood friends, but Sona was not interested in either Rias or Akeno because she was so focused on her studies and her plans. The onlookers stifled their laughs while some turned to watch as Issei stepped towards her with imposing eyes, making Sona calm down as she looked up at him blankly but with her cheeks still red as an apple. "It was a threat, and I suggest you both get to class. You don't want to make an enemy out of me. Keep your delinquent behavior reserved for off campus if you would, please." "Or what?" Issei replied before Sona put away her embarrassment and gave him a death glare, but it did little to faze Issei or Zo as he turned his back on her. In contrast, Zo did the same but flipped Sona off on both hands before making a gesture that made Sona stutter in front of her very eyes. But you. You stay out of my way, and I'll stay out of yours. Issei said before Zo stopped her signs, but as they continued walking, a blonde boy, Saji, called out to him angrily. Hey, asshole. You can't talk to the president like that. Why don't you get your ass back here and apologize to her? Saji shouted as he tried to stop Issei by placing a hand on the back of Issei's shoulder. This proved to be a huge mistake. Issei immediately grabbed the guy's wrist and turned around, and Zo summoned her staff to bash the guy's kneecaps before Issei stopped her with his other hand. Saji slumped over in agony and began to cry out in pain as Issei squeezed his wrist tightly, forcing him to his knees until he began to speak as his crimson eye began to glow eerily at Saji. Don't ever touch me or Zo again, or you're losing this hand and knowing what real pain is once I'm done with you, so take a hint, wannabe white knight. Don't piss either of us off. Issei said in a passive low tone as he released his grip on Saji, causing him to fall over and grab his wrist. Zo smiled as she clocked him in the face, making Saji fall while holding his nose. He was bleeding a bit before Sona told Raruko to take Saji to the nurse's office to tend to his face and wrist. Should we do something about them? Tsubaki said to Sona, somewhat concerned as everyone watched Issei and Zo walk away from the student council. Sona looked concerned and whispered to Tsubaki. Saji might not be as powerful as a devil, but a normal human shouldn't be able to do that to him. I had my suspicions there was something off about both of them, but that was surprising. We should talk to Ria's peerage and see if they can find anything out about them. I doubt either of them would let anyone from the student council get near either of them without acting up. Sona then glared in their direction and could tell that both of them would definitely be on their radar. If she could get them on her side, then she'd discipline them in some manner. Wait, where did that come from? Sona shouted in her mind as she imagined Issei, Zo, and her in a student-teacher scenario. This made Sona blush at the fantasy in her mind, wondering where that image had come from. Issei and Zo sat at their desks, typing on their phones, while the other students who came in or were there did their best to avoid them, but observed them from afar, which was on the other side of their homeroom. Now I know how Red feels about devils and such because these cowards seriously need to stop looking at me. I knew it was going to blow coming back here this year, but this is just insufferable. Issei thought, annoyed until Zo spoke to him with their connection. You can't blame them since we were ordinary humans until Red, Kaguya, and the others trained us to be badasses that are even more badass than Naruto and Sasuke. Zo said that since the two of them became deadly foes desiring to reach the level of a god, they wanted to clash with not just the tailed beasts and defeat them, but also Kaguya and their enemy, the Dragon of Ouroboros, Office. Still, if it's true that Office is the Dragon of Infinity and Red is the Dragon of Dreams, then it's possible that the only way to beat Office is by me using my sage form with Kaguya. How long can you use that form? At most. A year and I've finished fixing the issues on that technique I've been working on with the help of Red and Kaguya's skills in dimensional travel. Issei said with a small smirk since he's been trying to fine-tune the powers of both Kaguya's Yumatsu Hirasaka technique and the power of the dimensional gap. The problem is that opening multiple portals within a single space will cause issues, and someone could get sucked into it, which is why Issei was fine-tuning the technique so he can initiate sneak attacks on the enemy, teleport multiple attacks, and deal with a Satan that piqued the comma of Kaguya's interest. Still, the fact that there's a Satan known as Beelzebub who thinks he can use the powers of the dimensional gap, however, if he's really a genius, then I'll have to use the Mangekyo Sharingan and Rinnegan against him. Issei said to Zo before touching his forehead, where he could feel his third eye. After Issei had trained with Kaguya for so long, the powers of the Sharingan, Rinnegan, and Byakugan were fully accessed, and Issei could utilize the abilities of all three of the Great Clan's powers. By the way, how's your training with Jimei and Seiken? Were you able to master and surpass even the Great Senju techniques? Issei asked with Zo smiling to herself as she looked his way and revealed a diamond on her forehead for a nanosecond until it vanished. Which was all Issei needed to see since he knew that Zo might be skilled in weaponry, as well as the lightning and wind jutsu she's been learning. Still, her real skills are the training she's been doing with both Jimei and Seiken to surpass both Might Guy and Rock Lee in mastering the 8 gates. Issei did some research on the Senju's healing technique and the cells Madara took from Hashirama to use the wooden-style jutsu. She learned that granting Zo the training Sakura went through with Tsunade and some cells from the Senju clan would allow Zo to not only have the same healing powers as the Senju clan, but also make her a deadly foe in the ninjutsu style of lightning, wind, and wood. Zo and Issei continued their chat about their plans. They intend to finish high school. Issei wanted to continue supporting his little sister, Rin. The treatment Rin is on has been working, but it's also thanks to him learning how to use healing techniques to help her body recover faster. Issei wished to become a doctor like Zoe. Still, after enjoying fighting and combat so much, he decided to become a doctor and a teacher sensei of his dojo one day, so he could teach the next generation how to fight and possibly give the tailed beasts a chance to enjoy their freedom without having to worry about war. However, Great Red tells them about the many factions that will see both Issei and Zoe as either allies or enemies, since the factions want to control powerful people who will be on their side in times of war. Still, sadly, neither of them cared about the faction's desires or goals. Hence, the two delinquents trained for that day to come, and thanks to their sensei, both of them are in high-tier ultimate class before the transformations that can put them in mid-tier Mau class. The devils have no idea just how powerful the two humans really are, even without their sensei's assistance. Oh, and I would like to introduce a new transfer student we have, so please give a warm welcome to. The teacher said before the door was blown off its hinges and a tall woman appeared in it. TCH. How annoying. The woman said while exuding an air of scary confidence. Long, ebony hair cascaded down their back in wild, untamed waves, barely restrained by a dark, wide-brimmed hat that cast a shadow over their eyes. The hat was adorned with a small golden embellishment that glinted faintly in the dim light. They wore a deep purple tattered coat that billowed slightly as they moved, the frayed edges revealing a glimpse of the dark red lining within. Beneath the coat, a white bandage-like wrap tightly bound their chest, hinting at a powerful, muscular build. Their pants, as dark as the coat, hung loosely, tattered at the cuffs, revealing bare feet clad in traditional wooden Jetta sandals that clacked softly against the ground with each step. The characters' arms were crossed, accentuating the gold trim on their coat sleeves and the small golden ornament hanging from their ears. The hat's brim obscured their expression, but the air of nonchalance and the slight smirk on their lips suggested a calm readiness, as if daring anyone to challenge them. This was the delinquent that ruled the western area of Kuo Town, the Dragon of the West. Issei and Zoe may have been the first in the town, but when another delinquent moved in, she claimed the western and eastern areas of the town, and the three have been clashing ever since middle school. Ah, Dadaoji. Good to see you. Issei said with Dadaoji smiling at the duo before her until she sat in the middle of the two, which her fellow delinquents didn't mind, since they both knew Dadaoji back in middle school. The trio then showed off their smarts and strengths throughout the first day of school, and each of them excelled in their subjects. However, the scariest part of the day was the gym, where the trio was able to complete the race in under a minute, do their exercises with no problem, and turn a game of dodgeball into a war game, since the three were the only ones standing. Which resulted in a three-way tie. Sona continued to observe the trio, and was honestly impressed and terrified by their skills and strength, which made her concerned about recruiting one of them since, well, they may be humans if one of them became a devil, then she'd basically have another Seirag Bale, which made her scared but amused by the idea, before recalling their personalities. Hopefully, Riaz has a better time with them than me. By the way, where is Riaz in her peerage? Sona asked Tsubaki, who summoned a paper before reading it aloud to her king. Riaz said that she was investigating the abandoned church since she felt something or someone enter the church and wished to see if they meant to harm us or not. I asked if we could accompany her peerage, but Riaz rejected it since she was confident in her peerage skills and abilities. Tsukabi explained, making Sona sigh before she thanked her queen for the information until she saw that the day was coming to a close, which surprised her before she finished up her paperwork for the day. Well, let's wish and hope that this year won't involve me repairing the school or calling them to my office. Sona said while counting down the days until she can begin her college classes so she doesn't have to deal with the three delinquents. Meanwhile, with Riaz and her peers at the abandoned church. I'm honestly disappointed since I expected more from the infamous Riaz Gremory and your small but skilled peerage. A voice said while standing in the middle of a battlefield with 4 students defeated. Riaz Gremory looked up at her opponent and glared at them before seeing how beaten her peers were after they faced their opponent. The Keno's back was littered with multiple markings of a sharp weapon, and her spine was slightly damaged after getting sent back into a thick tree that did severe damage to the spinal cord. Kaneko's arms and legs were broken, as well, and blood leaving her head after she was stomped on multiple times into the ground. Kiba, on the other hand, was lifted by their opponent's left hand, and sadly, Kiba's arms were twisted and broken, along with his stomach being speared by their opponent's weapon of choice. Your knight certainly put up a good fight, but sadly, his skills were mediocre at best. The opponent said before letting Kiba fall to the ground and facing Riaz, who didn't receive so many injuries from her party, but her uniform was torn up front and she lost a lot of blood due to the many cuts from her arms, legs, stomach, and chest. Their opponent was a tall and fairly built young man with short, loosely hanging white hair. He wore tan gloves, a black mask covering his nose and mouth, a long black cloak covering most of his midsection, and underneath, a short-sleeved version of the exorcist uniform. He also had a sheathed sword on his back, while his right hand held a deadly spear that seemed to radiate holy magic at both ends. His shoes were tan-colored knee-high boots that matched his gloves. I didn't kill your little peerage on purpose since I didn't wish to fight, but you forced my hand when threatening and attacking me without reason. Granted, I am an exorcist, but I am not here to harm any of you. Killing you all would be a waste of energy. The exorcist said before taking Ria's cell phone and sending in a call to a hospital. It's best you just stay out of my way because the next time we meet, I won't be so merciful. Oh, and if you want a name, then my name is Hyuga. The exorcist, now known as Hyuga, said before leaving with his spear over his left shoulder. Ria's gritted her teeth and tried to muster her power, but was too weak to make a move due to the cuts being made by a holy weapon. Be damn it. Ria said before she fell into unconsciousness due to her inability to stand up or fight anymore. Hyuga paid her no mind as he walked away from the floor before pulling out a paper from his cloak. So the targets are Issei Haidu, Dadaoji, and Zo. To see what they are capable of before recruiting them to join our faction of warriors or heroes, in that man's case, until the devils notice their potential. Hyuga said as a pink-haired girl landed beside him from the trees, and a tall young man with silver-white hair and red eyes landed beside him. Hamura. Siegfried. Who do you think is the strongest out of all three of the potential candidates? Hamura pondered a response before shrugging her shoulders, which Hyuga accepted as her answer, while Siegfried said his response. I'd honestly say that Issei Haidu is the strongest of the three. Though the information we have on them is little about their fighting capabilities. Siegfried said before Hyuga replied to the ex-exorcist. That is understandable since we have little to no knowledge of their powers, so it's best we gather information on all three of them before considering our approach. Hyuga said before Hamura nodded and leaped into the trees, making Hyuga call out to her. Be careful, Hamura. If you need to retreat, then do it. Don't try to take them down, otherwise, you'll end up defeated and captured. Hyuga shouted out before looking at the target list. I think I'll test one of them to see if they're worth the trouble. Hyuga said, readying his spear before stabbing the picture of Zo. And the pink one shall be my target. Hyuga said before rushing towards his target's home, while Hamura was heading to her target, the Dragon of the West. In that case, that leaves the sage to me. Siegfried said as he headed towards the southern area of Kuo town and prepared for his target to arrive. Siegfried felt that it wouldn't be easy for him to face his opponent. Meanwhile, with said targets, Issei, Zo, and Dadaoji yawned as they all woke up from a nap they had outside under a massive cherry blossom tree before Issei took a look at the time. Looks like we slept through our free period and our last homeroom of the day. Issei said before Zo replied with a yawn. Not like it was anything important since it's the first day of our new school year. Dadaoji yawned as well before cracking her neck a few times until she sat up and blushed at the warm feeling on her right shoulder and lap. Sorry Dadaoji. We must have fallen asleep on you when we took our nap. Issei said before Dadaoji put her blush away and replied without looking at him. Well, it's not a problem as long as you warn me next time. Dadaoji said. She tried to hide the fact that she had a huge crush on both Zo and Issei, since the two of them were amazing in terms of strength and intellect. Still, the fact that the two knew of the supernatural world made Dadaoji happy that she could be herself around the two people who accepted her and even defeated her in battle, especially when she was going all out using the 8 gates that were passed down in her family. Dadaoji was actually a descendant of Rock Lee. She was fascinated with the 8 gates and trained harder than anyone in her family, even Mike Guy, to surpass them. Zo and Issei were amazed by this, so Issei offered to help Dadaoji with the weakness of the 8th gate, but Dadaoji denied the offer, since her clan had a technique to counter the cost of the final gate. After getting their bags, the trio headed out of the academy and split up after they reached the center, wishing each other a good evening, but Issei's senses kicked in, as did Kaguya's when she warned him. Issei. We have company. I feel him as well. There's a new person in both the northern, southern, and western areas. Prepare the teleportation to the Colosseum. Issei said, making Son Goku and the other tailed beasts excited since they loved the Colosseum, which allowed them to be outside of Issei's body for a very, very long time, training in their human forms that were given to them thanks to Great Red. It was also a way for the 9-tailed beast to clash with his host. The 8 and 9-tailed beasts were awakened within Issei and the trials he faced when meeting them. Flashback. The hidden forest of ancients is a secluded and mystical place shrouded in legends. Still, in reality, it was a dimension Kaguya created when she saw Issei and Zo play Pokemon and thought of some new dimensions for them, both to train in. The air is thick with the energy of dormant powers and ancient spirits. The ground beneath is covered in a soft emerald moss that seems to pulse with life. Issei stands at the entrance of the hidden forest of ancients, his heart racing with anticipation. The awakening of the 8 and 9-tailed beasts has been foretold, and now he stands ready to face them, a culmination of his rigorous training with the other tailed beasts. Suddenly, the forest around him trembles. A low, guttural growl reverberates through the air, followed by an explosion of energy. The 8-tailed beast, Jiki, emerges from the shadows, its enormous form dwarfing the ancient trees. Its 8 tentacle-like tails writhe with power. So, the chosen one finally arrives. Are you prepared to face the trials, human? Jiki said before Issei readied himself for a battle that would force him to pull out all his tricks. I am ready, Jiki. I have learned much from the others, and I will prove my worth. Without another word, Jiki charges. The ground shakes as its massive form barrels toward Issei. Issei stands his ground, eyes focused and unyielding. As Jiki closes the distance, Issei channels the energy he has learned from the other tailed beasts. His body glows with a vibrant aura, a mixture of red from the 1-tailed Shukaku, blue from the 2-tailed Matatabi, green from the 3-tailed Isobu, and the rest, each representing the unique power he has harnessed. Concentrate and focus on your energy. Do not let fear consume you. Face your enemy and never run from danger. Flee, and you'll die, cower, and you'll die, so shout your name with all of your spirit. Issei quoted the words of his teachers before his eyes opened, before Issei sidestepped Jiki's initial charge, summoning a wave of sand to entangle its tentacles. Jiki roars, thrashing against the sandy bonds. Impressive, but can you handle this? Jiki's tails whip around, shattering the sand and sending shockwaves through the air. Issei quickly forms a barrier of blue flames, absorbing the shock and countering with a blast of steam-infused water. The collision of elements creates a dense mist, shrouding the battlefield. Issei uses the cover to his advantage, moving with the enhanced speed granted by Chmei's training. He appears behind Jiki, landing a powerful strike infused with the corrosive energy of Seiken. Jiki roars in pain, the corrosive energy eating away at its tough hide. You have indeed learned well, but the true test lies ahead. Face me with all you've got. The battlefield trembles again as Jiki unleashes a barrage of energy blasts from its tails. Issei counters with a fusion of his learned techniques, creating a swirling vortex of elements. Sand, water, fire, and steam, combining to form a formidable shield. The energy blasts are absorbed and redirected, exploding harmlessly in the air. Issei then channels the raw power of Sun Gok, enhancing his strength, and leaps onto Jiki's back, delivering a seismic punch that sends shockwaves through the ground. Jiki crashes to the ground, momentarily stunned. However, before Issei could catch his breath, the air around him grew heavy. A powerful aura fills the space, and from the depths of the forest, the 9-tailed beast, Kurama, emerges. Its presence is overwhelming, its 9 tails flicking with latent power. Well done, Issei. But now you face me. Prepare yourself. Kurama roared as the ground beneath Issei cracked under the sheer pressure of Kurama's presence. Issei stands tall, his body glowing with the combined energy of the 7-tailed beasts he has mastered. Kurama's eyes narrow, recognizing the amalgamation of powers. You carry their strength, but can you wield it against me? Kurama lunges, its speed astonishing for its eyes. Issei reacts instantly, forming a barrier of interwoven elements to absorb the impact. The barrier shatters under Kurama's assault, but it slows the beast enough for Issei to counter. Drawing on Matatabi's flames, Issei engulfs his fists in blue fire and charges. He weaves through Kurama's attacks, landing blows that sear the beast's fur and flesh. Kurama retaliates with a swipe of its massive tails, sending Issei crashing into the trees. Despite the pain, Issei rises, his determination unshaken. He channels the energy of Kakum, steam swirling around him, increasing his physical power. With a roar, he dashes forward, matching Kurama blow for blow. The forest around them bears the scars of their battle. Trees are uprooted, the ground torn asunder by their clashes. Issei combines his abilities in rapid succession. Sand to bind, water to strike, fire to burn, and steam to overwhelm. Each attack is a testament to his training, a culmination of the lessons from each tailed beast. Kurama's eyes glow with a mixture of respect and challenge. You're indeed worthy, Issei. But to truly master the power, you must surpass me. Kurama gathers its energy, forming a massive ball of condensed chakra. The air hums with its intensity. Issei feels the pressure but stands firm. He channels every ounce of power he has, his aura flaring with the combined might of all the tailed beasts. This ends now. You said it, Issei Haidu. Kurama shouted as Issei formed his sphere of energy, a swirling vortex of elemental power, while Kurama charged his tailed beast ball. But the final, mighty roar, the two energies collide, creating an explosion that lights up the entire forest. As the dust settles, both Issei and Kurama stand, breathing heavily. A moment of silence follows, broken by Kurama's deep laugh. You have indeed surpassed our expectations, Issei. You are now ready to wield the true power of the tailed beasts. Issei bows his head in respect, feeling the weight of their acceptance. He knows that his journey is far from over, but with the support and power of the tailed beasts, he is ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead. Then flashback. So, Dodauji. Can you both hear me? Issei asked before hearing his fellow delinquents reply to his message. We hear you loud and clear. What's the plan, Captain? Zo and Dodauji replied before Issei told him his plan for the Colosseum, which excited them both as well before all three of them met their enemies at their homes. Issei didn't say anything as he then snapped his fingers, opening a rift behind the three enemies, and had the 80 gods vacuum attack technique, dragged them all to the Colosseum, where Issei looked to see Dodauji and Zo seem passive, as they were dropped into the arena, while Hyuga, Himura, and Siegfried were planted into the ground. You three are really being a pain since it's been a long day, and we don't have time to deal with your bullshit excuses, so skip the pleasantries and tell us what you want. Zo said while typing on her phone that she'll be a bit late coming back home to her mother before Hyuga approached them. I do apologize for coming off as a threat, but we intended to observe your skills before coming forward with an offer that we wish to extend to you all. Hyuga said before stabbing his spear into the ground. And what exactly is this offer? We are part of an organization that wishes to. Hyuga stated before Dodauji stopped his sentence. Nope. Hyuga, Himura, and Siegfried were caught off guard by this until Issei took over. Apologies for her fast response, but we aren't exactly interested in being part of any faction or group that wishes to go against them. So, no thanks. Issei said before crossing his arms. His third eye appeared on his forehead, shocking the trio of intruders before Issei smiled at them. Now go to sleep. Issei whispered under his breath until the three collapsed on the ground. The Genjutsu attack had unharmed Issei, Zo, and Dodauji. Well, this year is certainly going to be an annoying one. Issei said while Zo wrapped the intruders up before Dodauji picked them up and threw them through a portal that Issei opened up and sent them outside of the town. The trio may be deadly and powerful, but their peaceful quiet lives were now going to be turned upside down. Chapter 3. Trio meets devils. A few days later, after the trio of warriors took down those recruiters, it was almost their favorite day of the week. Friday. After today and tomorrow, there was no school for 2 days to be free from boredom, train some more, and beat the daylights out of gangsters trying to approach their territory. Heck, they can even see Great Red. The school was boring as usual, since the trio were able to outperform many of the other students in their class, and the females were trying to help protect their fellow females. Still, both Zo and Dodauji flipped them off since they didn't need help from weaklings who only knew how to wield a stick and thought they were invincible. After the day ended, the trio decided to go to a ramen shop, which was very popular among both business and casual members. The trio were well known in said shop, since they protected the shop from loan sharks who tried to destroy the place when one of the employees owed them money but lost it when a guy stole it and spent 5 million yen in one day at a bar. And that was why the owner was grateful for them and even changed the name to the Delinquent Bulls. Funny name aside, many delinquents went there. They even enjoyed the food, thanking the owners for a wonderful meal until it became so popular that it became a neutral place for all delinquents to enjoy themselves or speak about meetings and such. As the trio walked into the restaurant, the workers welcomed the trio, and the customers of the establishment immediately froze up as the trio walked in. The delinquents were used to this reaction as most people assumed he was a gangster there to cause trouble or extort someone. That wasn't true. That's what Dodauji does when she's getting someone to pay for her meal. The delinquent teenagers walked up to the counter and watched, surprised, as the entire line let him pass to the front. Geez. Do I scare people that badly? Issei thought, somewhat amused as he walked up and ordered his food. Well, to be fair, your eyes are still intimidating, which was increased due to your training with that idiot Red. Kaguya said while Son Goku replied to her. Hey, give the kid a break, and besides, if people are so scared to look at him in the eyes when talking business, then that just shows how much of a pussy they are. You the one who's enabling him. Kaguya shouted with her head massive with a Sobu, Seiken, and Kaken behind her, making Son Goku feel small, before his brothers and sister comforted their brother, while Issei stifled a laugh from this, since he might have been more of a delinquent thanks to his training with Red, Son Goku, Shikaku, and Matatabi. Hey. Mock them all you want, but their training helped me become the warrior I am today. Plus, I was able to finish my training in my Sage of the Six Paths form, and man, does it feel amazing. Issei said, which made Kaguya smirk, knowing that Issei loved to train in his tailed beast transformations and his sage form. Fair enough. Still, I can't wait to see you in the mindscape again, since Kurama has wanted to help you train in his 9-tailed beast armor. Sweet. Can't wait to see what he's got in mind. Issei mentally cheered before the trio got their meal and sat down to eat. Issei began to wonder how he was going to deal with his current situation. He certainly wasn't afraid of the situation, but he was dreading how to inevitably handle the storm of turmoil that would arise once all the devils at Kuo Academy found out who and what he was. The devils would be problems along with those 3 idiots they knocked out so quickly, since Dadaoji had a feeling they're returning to recruit them again. Zo, on the other hand, couldn't help but wonder if she was going to have to kill everyone at the school at some point due to how annoying they were. If they could forge some papers to show they could graduate early, the trio wouldn't have to waste their time and mental energy in the classes, with the teacher droning on stuff they already knew. Deep in their thoughts, the trio ate their meal until Issei barely noticed someone approach him at their table. Excuse me, are you Haidu-san? A nervous voice spoke. Issei snapped out of his inner reflections as he noticed a girl wearing his school's uniform. He cocked his head at her, confused. She had shoulder-length blue hair, blue eyes, and a slightly androgynous-looking face. It only took him a few seconds to smell a devil's scent on her, which caused him to scowl. What do you want immediately? I apologize for bothering you outside of school like this, but I was just eating in here when I saw you walk in and was wondering if I could eat with you. The girl said somewhat fearfully. The girl was holding a plate of her food with a bowl on it that was shaking a bit, but the fact that she was brave enough to ask him something like that was rather remarkable, in his opinion. Issei and Dadaoji were almost surprised she would even try, considering how aggressive Issei and Zo were with Sona Citri, one of the devil princesses in the school. Why? Did the president put you up to this? What does she want? Issei asked with serious eyes. Yes, but I didn't expect to see you today. I was going to talk to you at school tomorrow, but since you're all here, I just thought maybe I could talk to you all now. We didn't want to upset you or make you, so can I please sit down with you guys? The girl couldn't really find the words to express her thoughts as she looked around desperately. Just sit down already. People are staring. Zo said, somewhat annoyed by the devils feeling the need to put themselves in their lives even outside of school. Issei and Dadaoji immediately sent death glares to several gawking onlookers, causing them all to turn around or look away. The girl sat down eagerly and placed her food on the table in front of her. There was pure silence for a moment as she ate a bit of her food. She snuck a glance up at Issei after a few moments and blushed heavily. She was surprised, however, when she noticed he wasn't even paying attention to her. She nervously fiddled with her food as she waited patiently for Issei to say something. Issei was lost in his thoughts again as he passively ate the rest of his meal, while Dadaoji rolled her eyes and listened to some of the annoying people around their table. Is that poor girl dating that punk kid? How unfortunate. Dadaoji heard an older woman say from across the room. This made Issei immediately snap from his daze again and look at the girl in front of him. Shit. This does look like a date. I thought she would have said her piece by now, so why isn't she talking? She's been sitting here for like a minute. Issei wondered until Dadaoji decided to save her partner. Are you just going to sit there and say nothing? If you have something to say, girl, spit it out already. Dadaoji said, shaking her head at the girl who joined them. Finally, after Dadaoji broke the ice for her, the girl looked up and spoke. Sona asked me to give you a message. Sona Citri wants to meet with you all and talk to you three about something important. It took you that long to tell me that. Why did you need to sit here and eat with me then? Issei immediately questioned her. She looked away, embarrassed. Listen, you can tell that stuck-up princess to come ask me herself. Why would she send you to deliver some useless message to me? Was she too afraid to ask me in person? Issei said with some hostility since he had seen this before when rival gangs sent a messenger to them because they were too scared to see them and challenged them to a duel which resulted in the whole gang getting their asses handed to them. And no, I asked her if I could go instead. The girl said shyly. I don't know if that's brave or stupid. Matatabi pondered before Isoba replied. The Citri girl may wish to see if we are a threat to her territory, even though she isn't in any position to make threats to us. Isobu said, knowing that the Citri girl was weak in terms of water magic since her powers were simple party tricks compared to what both Isobu and Kakum were capable of. Issei crossed his arms and stared at her. Do you have a death wish or something? Why would you want to talk to us willingly? I was really curious about you all, especially you, Issei Haidu. The girl finally found her spine as she began to speak normally. Is that right? Issei said, looking at her intensely. Sharingan appeared in his eyes before the girl continued. You took Saji down with ease. I just wanted to ask you how. Said the girl replied before the sage shook his head in amusement before replying. I squeezed his wrist and threw him on the ground. So what? You know what I'm talking about, Haidu-san. I'm sure you know this by now, but Saji's not human. How did you do that to him? What are you? The girl asked before Zo held her staff in front of the girl before glaring at her. Look, lady. We don't have time to sit here and play 20 questions with you, so unless you're here to confess your undying love to us or something, then there's really nothing else to be said here. Tell the president that we don't want to deal with this political roundabout bullshit. If your president wants to talk to us, then tell her to do it in person if she wants to say something to us. If that's all, you can leave now," Zoe said strongly as she looked away. A brief moment of silence passed before he turned back and saw the girl blushing heavily. "Who says things like that? You want me to confess undying love to you? Is that why you're still here? This should be good." Daoji couldn't help but chuckle, causing the girl to blush with embarrassment. "No, of course not. I just wanted to make sure you knew that Sona will probably try to talk to you sometime soon." The girl tried to cover her shame as she stood up and began to leave. "No confession, huh? Too bad. You got a name, babe?" Issei asked, causing her to turn around with crimson cheeks. "Tsubasa Yura and I'm a third year," Tsubasa said before immediately running out of the restaurant. "I wasn't expecting her to fall apart like that. Girls take it so literally when I make those kinds of jokes," Issei thought, amused until Kaguya laughed in response. This coming from the boy who fell for Kakum in her human form and asked her to marry him. Kaguya asked with Kakum, in her human form, blushed as she covered her face while trying to forget the day her partner confessed his feelings to her and asked a question that made her hide from her sisters for days. Issei was then quiet while he could hear the inhabitants of the restaurant gossiping about what had just happened, but he chose to ignore it as he left. "So, she's one of the Street Devils, and my senpai is too. Not a half bad looking girl, even for a devil. She was respectful, at least. What would I say if a girl actually did confess to me? She certainly was a bit flustered." Issei thought as the trio then left the restaurant and went home after saying their farewells to each other. After about 15 minutes of walking through the scenic route, Issei made it back home. However, as he walked up into his driveway, Issei was surprised to see another girl sitting on his doorstep. "Damn, another one. Why won't these people leave me alone?" Issei sighed as he walked up to the girl, who perked up upon noticing him. "Are you Issei Haidu?" "Yeah. And you better have a damn good reason for loitering around my house." Issei threatened with his hand cracking, ready to punch her next week. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's just that I can never catch you anywhere else, and I found out from a friend that this is where you lived," the woman tried to explain. "Are you some stalker then? What do you want with me?" Issei questioned her motives immediately. "Well, it's an unusual situation. I was going to try to lie to you originally, but I changed my mind today. You seem like a strong person who respects the truth and an upfront offer, so I'll make my intentions clear. My allies and I know you're not a normal human. Judging by the way the devils react in your presence, it's fairly obvious that they're scared of you. We also know that you're not a member of any devil peerage, yet you can operate freely within their territory," she explained. Issei looked at her for a moment, taking in her appearance. This girl had long black hair and purplish-colored eyes and was deceptively cute despite what his instincts told him. After noticing her school uniform, Issei quickly realized that she was a fallen angel as her particular school was in their territory. "So, you want me to join you instead, fallen angel?" Issei asked bluntly. The fallen angel seemed shocked that Issei was immediately able to figure out what she was but continued speaking carefully. "Actually, we would like you to work with us in secret. You're under no obligation to serve us should you accept, but we would greatly value your help if you were to keep an eye on the happenings around Kuo Academy." Issei thought for a moment since it sent such a bad offer due to them not asking to join their faction, but something about that last part confused Issei a bit. "Why can't you just do it yourself? You seriously don't have any good spies?" "We do, but the devils have reinforced heavy security lately after you three started attending there. Our boss recently found out, and that is why he sent us to find out, but he wants us to avoid provoking the devils at all costs. Seeing as you are always in devil territory, we can't really risk espionage without drawing their attention and starting an altercation. This might be presumptuous to ask, but would you be willing to do it for us?" the girl requested slowly. "Maybe, but what is it you expect to find out?" Issei played along with the idea. "We honestly don't know. It could be anything. Please, if you do this for us, we will owe you big time," the girl said sincerely. "I'll spare you the trouble, Angel. The devils are just trying to recruit me, Zoe, and Daoji to their peerages since we're special and much stronger than even them." Issei gave her an honest answer. She gawked at him, surprised. "Really? Yeah, but we don't give a shit about whatever political standoff you got going on right now. The Street Devil tried to recruit my friends and me into her little posse, but we said no, and now she's just hanging around trying to change my mind, I guess." Issei shrugged without a care in the world. "I didn't expect you just to tell us right away." "Well, I guess that takes care of that," the girl said slowly. "It sure does, so you mind leaving now?" Issei asked. "Issei, don't be rude. Your parents aren't here right now, so why not invite her to stay the night?" Seiken said before Kaguya rolled her eyes at the slug-tailed beast. You're just saying that since you want Issei to get a new girlfriend. Aojianzo aren't here to fulfill your stupid romance novel delusions. Kaguya said while Issei recalled that Seiken was a sucker for the romance novels that his mother read, while Seiken blushed being caught by her sisters and brothers. The dark-haired girl flinched for a moment as her head turned to the side. It looked like something spooked her, judging by her surprised and fearful reaction. The fallen angel quickly turned back to him. Wait, is it okay if I stay for a bit? What? At my house? Issei gawked at her. I mean, I know that sounds, but it's just that I sense I am a high-class devil in this neighborhood. If I leave, they'll capture me or kill me. The black-haired beauty said, concerned. You can't just teleport away. Issei said, confused. The girl shook her head. Not without them knowing I was here. I didn't expect anyone to come snooping around this time of day. This has to stay a secret. Lord Azazel's orders. Issei honed his senses for a moment and detected a familiar smell. It's that red-haired girl's scent. She's not nearby just yet, but she's definitely coming. I can stay discreet, but this girl is toast if that Gremory chick catches her. Screw it. I let her stay. Before the girl could even react, Issei quickly grabbed her and went inside. Issei then immediately channeled red energy over his hands and pinned the girl to the ground. She yelped as he spread a red cloak of chakra around her body. Not even a moment later, he hit her on the ground behind his couch and covered her mouth. She looked up at him, shocked, as Issei was now on top of her. He raised a finger to his lip before standing up and quickly sitting down on the couch in front of the window. It seemed to be just in time, too, as he could now sense the red-haired girl watching him from outside the window. He pretended not to notice her as he turned on the TV and started watching Drag Soap Ball Z. This must have clearly bored the devil girl because she left a few minutes later, much to his relief. Once he was sure she was gone, Issei spoke up. You can get up now, angel girl. The dark-haired fallen angel stood up, relieved, and immediately let out a breath she had been holding in. Damn. You really saved my ass from that little red devil bitch. It would not have been good if she had caught me out here. If the devils found out that we were snooping in their territory, it would lead to conflict, and then Lord Azazel would probably punish us if we survived. The angel said as she collapsed on the couch next to him. That Gremory girl doesn't look that tough. Was all Issei said as he kept watching his favorite show. They say call her the crimson-haired ruined princess since she's supposedly related to one of the four Satans. The fallen angel explained. I guess it's good she didn't find you then. The Kama of Kaguya replied with a grin. How did you do that? Did you conceal my power from her? The angel asked, confused. Because she should have been able to detect me at that range. She definitely would have had I tried to teleport away. You're lucky I appreciate your honesty, or I would have let her catch you out here. Good behavior deserves a reward, so that's the only reason I helped you. Issei said, looking at her intensely. The fallen angel looked at him curiously. Do you conceal your power from the devils? Is that how you're able to operate in their territory freely? Pretty much. Issei replied as he turned his head back to the TV. You're a dragon, then. Why is a dragon in this town, and why would the devils want you to join her? The girl asked inquisitively. Issei glanced over at her again with a coy look in his eyes. You ask a lot of questions, fallen angel. You're lucky I told you as much as I did. You already know more than enough about me. Pretending to be a dragon might work best since she's probably feeling the power I got from Red, which would explain why she thinks I'm a dragon. Issei pondered in his mind before hearing the girl speak. I'm guessing the devils don't know you're a dragon then. They would have tried recruiting you into their foul dens if that was the case. Just out of curiosity, why haven't you aligned with them? The dark-haired girl asked with anxious eyes. Because devils are always causing drama and they're way too obsessed with status and titles. I see how they treat each other and I don't have any interest in all that political nonsense. If I worked for them, they would talk like this. Oh, lesser pawn, I detest your abhorrent attitude and rebellious disposition. Don't you know that my family is rich and I'm a high-class devil? I'm so important, rich, and powerful. Did I mention how important I was and powerful? Oh, you couldn't even begin to grasp the majesty of my position. I'm so special. Issei imitated a posh, effeminate voice with an exaggerated moan at the end, causing Rainer to laugh hysterically. Hahaha. You're pretty funny. I expected you to be way more serious. Kalwerner said you're really mean and serious all the time. The angel laughed. Issei cocked his head at her. Kalwerner? She one of your friends? More or less. She's part of my team. She's the one who watched you the most out of all of us. The angel explained. So that's what that bird's smell was. Issei said aloud as he recalled detecting a strange scent the past few days. He wasn't used to dealing with fallen angels, so he was still getting familiar with their smell. My name's Rainer, by the way. the young woman said with a soft smile. Geez, and I thought Kaloriner was a weird name. Your name's Rainer. Issei laughed at her. Rainer looked at him, embarrassed. What? It's not weird. It's an angel name. Tell me you don't go around Japan telling people that your name is Rainer. That would be rather funny. Issei chuckled. Well, I do have an undercover name here, Yuma. Rainer said slowly with a bit of shame. That's a cute name. It matches you. Issei laughed. It does. Wait, you think I'm cute? Rainer asked, surprised while the male-tailed beasts were cheering in his head, with Son Goku counting his winnings, while Isobu shook his head in amusement. At the same time, Kurama and Jiki laughed at their little brother's charm, attracting another woman to his future gang. If I didn't know you were a fallen angel, I'd say so. Issei replied. She frowned at him. So me being a fallen angel makes me less attractive in your eyes? Yes. Issei answered bluntly. Rainer seemed a bit sad from his comment as she looked away. HMPH, yeah, that's nothing new, I suppose. Everyone hates my kind, even dragons, apparently. If I hated you, then you would be dead right now. Issei shook his head. The fallen angel's self-esteem plummeted as she looked down. Well, for what it's worth, I think you're cute, dragon half-breed or not. They must have seen my parents recently if she assumes I'm a half-breed. Issei deduced mentally. At the same time, the female-tailed beast shouted at Issei for being so rude to her, while Kaguya didn't seem to mind since she respected the girl for her honesty but didn't think she was good enough for her and partner. Issei chose not to acknowledge her comment about finding him cute, much to the fallen angel's disappointment. Rainer looked at him for a moment before smiling. Well, I guess it's safe to leave now, but I feel like I still owe you. Don't sweat it, Rainer. Just tell your people not to bother me. Issei replied, distracted. She looked away for a moment before speaking again. You mind if I stay for a bit longer? What are you scared of, the big bad devils out there? Issei asked while he made fun of her before Rainer looked at him pridefully. Of course not. I don't feel like going back to base yet. Yeah, I wouldn't want to sleep in a church either. Issei joked, causing her eyes to shoot open. You know where our base is? Rainer said, shocked. I mean, where else could it be? That church is on your side of town, and it's the only place I know where angels would bother putting up barriers. Issei deduced while the tailed beasts agreed that it's the most logical place where a fallen would go to avoid devils. Fair point. Rainer said, trailing off since she had no idea how to continue the conversation due to Issei was now fully interested in Drag So Ball Z. Rainer stood up awkwardly and stared at him, waiting for his answer about whether or not she could stay. Finally, after a moment, Issei glanced over at her again. Fine, you can stay. Geez. I can't believe you're so worried. I'm not worried. I feel like I still need to leave. You know, in case she comes back around. Rainer trailed off. Whatever you say. You mind sitting down then if you're staying? Issei said, trying to look past her. What is this show you're watching? Rainer asked, confused as she sat back down and got more comfortable on the couch. Drag So Ball Z. It's a badass anime about these martial artists with superpowers that get stronger and fight aliens. Issei explained. It looks kind of interesting, I suppose. Rainer said half-heartedly. You don't have to watch it, but I got nothing better to do right now. Issei shrugged as he focused back on the TV. In truth, he wanted to see Red, but he couldn't tonight with all the recent supernatural traffic around his home. Several minutes passed before Rainer stealthily scooted closer to Issei on the couch. She spoke up, confused, after a few minutes of watching it. So what's happening right now in this show? What are those golden balls? They're trying to get the Drag So Ball so they can summon the dragon and make a wish. Issei explained. Huh, a dragon that grants a wish? She said curiously. Issei nodded. Well, if anything could give someone a wish, it would definitely be a dragon. Or a tailed beast. Aw. I knew Issei liked us, though, if anyone could better use them, then it would definitely be me. Kaguya said before an argument began with them all thinking they'd have a better wish than the others. Rainer said nothing else as she slowly began to gain interest in the anime. Several hours later. Issei and Rainer continued watching the show for hours despite Rainer's initial reservations. Issei found it almost amusing how into the plot she was starting to get. Rainer shook her head in annoyance. I can't believe these dumbest people keep wasting wishes on bringing their friends back to life. Why waste a wish on saving some half-ass friends that don't do anything relevant? Yeah, I've always wondered that too, but the moral behind their actions is more along the lines of earning one's power and being selfless, I guess. It's hard to really know what you would actually do in that situation. Wishing for a friend to come back is noble, at least. Issei noted. Too bad those Drag So Balls aren't real. I'd love to have a wish. Rainer said slowly. What would you wish for? Issei asked curiously as he glanced over at Rainer. Probably more power or invulnerability since I'm kind of weak for a fallen angel, to be honest. Rainer answered shamefully, which did earn some points in Kaguya's book since she thought that perhaps she and the others could train her if she's a worthy ally in the future. Issei sighed before responding. Yeah, but power is useless unless it has a purpose. Why would you want more power? Powerful people have more status and relevance in this world. They don't have to worry about being afraid or answering to someone else. It seems almost liberating. She said distantly. It can be, but power without purpose won't really fill any voids in your life. The people at the very top are probably just bored. Issei replied. Rainer frowned. What would you wish for, Issei? What is it with people just casually addressing me by name these days? Issei sighed before he shook his head. I don't know, honestly. It's never really crossed my mind. You wouldn't wish for more power? There's nothing you would want? Rainer asked curiously. Nah. I wouldn't want to be more powerful unless I earned it myself. As for what I want, well, I can pretty much get anything I want if I work at it, so why bother wishing for it? Issei replied with a grin. Rainer looked at him seriously for a moment. I have a question, Issei. How strong are you? From what I can tell, you don't really seem concerned about anything. You're not afraid of some Satan or Archangel coming after you or getting sealed in sacred gear or something. You're not afraid of that devil princess. Not really, no. Issei answered bluntly. You must be really strong then. I envy you. Rainer said distantly. Issei shook his head. You don't have to be super strong not to be afraid of something. Everything is immense, Rainer. You're limiting your potential by placing these restrictions and labels on everything. Real power is willpower. You should remember that. Goku has become the legendary Super Saiyan. Will it be enough to stop Frieza? Find out next time on Drag So Ball Z. The television announced super loud before the end credit song started playing. I can't believe I've been watching this weird show for hours, but I really want to know how it ends now. Rainer said, shaking her head as she looked at the clock on the wall. Yeah, it's pretty addicting after a while. Issei said, nodding as the next episode came on. I'll watch one more, but I should probably leave soon. Rainer said as she leaned back again before putting her head on his shoulder. Strangely, Issei didn't mind it, which made the guys snicker at their partner. At the same time, Kaguya was a bit jealous, but smirking at their interactions before seeing their hearts begin to flutter a bit, making the resident slug gush over it like a fangirl before the other shushed her before watching the show in front of them. The next day. Issei awoke the next day with a soft, almost feathery feeling around him. Man. When did these pillows get so feathery? So soft. Did mom and dad buy me new pillows? He brushed his hand through the feathery pillows before his hand ended up feeling something else. Flesh. What the? Is this? Skin. He thought concerned. His eyes shot open as he alertly surveyed his surroundings. To his sheer disbelief, Rainer was curled against him with her wings wrapped over them both. They were both on the couch and had apparently fallen asleep after marathoning Drag So Ball Z all night. The sleeping Rainer held onto him tighter as he shuffled upright. Her wings were fully out and she looked slightly more curvaceous than he remembered. Her wings were incredibly soft and rather pleasant to the touch, much to his surprise. He had always wondered what angel wings actually felt like. Issei ran his hand over them, feeling the feathery wings again. This caused the sleeping Rainer to moan in her sleep as she nuzzled her face against his chest. After his initial grogginess wore off, Issei shook the angel's shoulder. Hey, Rainer, wake up. Ugh. What? Rainer said groggily as she opened her eyes before seeing their position. Oh. Morning, Issei. Did I fall asleep over here? What are you still doing here? What are you doing sleeping on me? Issei asked seriously. Sorry, I guess I must have passed out last night. Rainer apologized immediately as she sat up and uncurled herself from him. He looked at the time. I guess I did too, or this would never have happened. 6 a.m. I wonder when we fell asleep. Well, thanks for letting me spend the night. Sorry for passing out on you. Rainer said as she retracted her black wings and got off the couch. There was no doubt about it now. She definitely looked a bit older than the other day. It wasn't drastic or anything, but her bust and height were larger than he remembered. What? A magical girl. You won't stop me, you little witch. Issei heard a voice from the TV. It was still on, but it was playing some weird magical girl anime, much to Issei's disinterest. Milky Heim. Save us. A character in the anime shouted. Sparkle Shine, your command is mine. A preteen magical girl shouted as she blasted some colorful magic at the ridiculously stereotypical villain. Is this a good show, too, Issei? Rainer asked as she turned to glance at the TV. He shook his head. Hell no. It's a magical girl show. It's like those stupid friendship is magic bullshit. Issei said, standing up and grabbing his remote. I'm glad that out of all mythologies, that magical girls aren't actually a thing. I mean, there are witches and whatnot, but nothing this girly. Let me catch a magical girl trying to come into my town. Issei thought to himself, with most of the male-tailed beasts agreeing that magical girls are weird, especially since the girl on the show acted like the ones in their world, like that blonde-haired ninjutsu user or that pink-haired brat. Rainer chuckled as she rubbed her head. I had a dream about that stupid show we were watching last night. If it was so stupid, then why did you stay all night and watch it with me? Issei countered, which made the fallen angel look away, embarrassed. It was entertaining. I haven't done anything like this before. Which part? Watching an I'm all-nighter cocooning a guy on his couch with your wings? Issei asked. Rainer blushed at his question. Both. Anyway, thanks for the hospitality, Issei. I should probably go. You have school today, right? Yeah, unfortunately. Issei said drearily, but before either one of them could say another word, Issei heard a loud knock on his front door. Who the hell is knocking on my door this early in the morning? Issei said, annoyed, as he walked over and opened it. Outside, he saw a voluptuous woman with long blue hair and brown eyes. She was wearing a ridiculously short maroon skirt and a matching coat with a deep V-cut. Good. She's almost as big as that Sunday woman. Kurama said, recalling the Senju woman, while Issei agreed with the nine-tailed beast. True, but what is it with me seeing blue-haired girls lately? Issei thought as his gaze lingered on the buxom woman for a moment. Issei looked over her briefly before speaking. Nice outfit. Did you get lost on your way to Soapland, or is it my birthday? The woman gawked at him disbelievingly. What? Wait, is it his birthday? But I still need to finish my present. Shouko said before Kaguya reassured her that it wasn't his birthday yet. I mean, hey, if you got a nice body, you might as well show it off, I guess. How can I help, fallen angel? Issei asked her as soon as the bird-like smell filled his nostrils. The woman glared daggers at him. Our companion came by here last night with an offer for you. She hasn't returned yet. Did you kill her? What was your answer? Before Issei could respond, Rainer immediately ran to the front door. Kaluwerner? What are you doing here? Rainer? Are you still here? Why didn't you report back? Don't Issei and I thought you were dead. The blue-haired woman said seriously. Rainer shook her head. That Gremory bitch was snooping around here last night, so I ended up hiding here with him. Really? That's unusual. What was his answer? Kaluwerner asked as she looked at Issei intensely. Several of Issei's neighbors noticed the sexy woman standing at his door. With his enhanced hearing, he could hear one speak. Is that the Haidu family's son with a prostitute? Those poor people. How do they deal with that shameful son of theirs? Come inside. You stick out like a sore thumb around here. Issei said, motioning for Kaluwerner to come into his house. The buxom blue-haired woman strutted in as Issei closed the door behind her before she crossed her arms and eyed him seriously. So, you let Rainer hide out here? I take it that means you're willing to help us. I already told Rainer why she is here. You two can tell Azazel all about that. Tell him not to bother me while you're at it. Issei replied. Huh? You're a dragon, then? I thought you were a human with a sacred gear. Kaluwerner said curiously as she took a step closer. He's half dragon. Rainer clarified. May I? Kaluwerner asked as she held up her hand. Issei had no idea what she was asking permission for, but he quickly found out as the woman traced a finger around his arm. The glow of holy magic briefly enveloped it before Issei's much stronger red draconic magic overpowered it and fizzled out. A powerful one, too. She remarked with fascination. It's amazing that the devils haven't tried recruiting you yet. How are you able to freely move about in Gremory's territory without consequence? Kaluwerner asked. He can conceal his power. He did it last night to me when that Gremory bitch came looking for me. Rainer explained. Kaluwerner looked over at Rainer again. Lord Azazel will find this fascinating. I don't doubt that. Rainer agreed. He is way stronger than I thought he was, too. So, what did you two do all night then? Kaluwerner asked as she noticed one of Rainer's feathers was sticking out of Issei's shirt. Slept. Issei replied with the smartest answer. With each other apparently. Kaluwerner chuckled as she reached for the feather sticking out of Issei's shirt. Rainer immediately blushed shamefully. It's not what you think, Kaluwerner. We just fell asleep watching this stupid show of his. Alright, well, I have to get ready for school, so why don't you two see yourselves out? You got everything you needed from me. Issei said as he put his arms up and started lightly pushing them both toward the door. Wait. I never properly repaid you for the help. Rainer protested as Issei easily pushed them toward the exit. Don't worry about it. Issei said as he opened the door for them to leave. Rainer stood at the doorway for a moment before looking up at Issei. Is it alright if I come back again sometime? For what? Issei asked. I just had a good time last night. Rainer replied, which made the males cheer for a second date, while Issei sighed in excitement. I'll think about it. Thanks. Rainer said enthusiastically before briefly nuzzling her head on his shoulder and leaving. Alwerner gave him a curious look. The fallen angels owe you for the intel. I'll make sure Azazel knows that you're trying to avoid trouble around here. I'm sure he'll respect your request. He's a good leader. That's good to know. Issei said curtly. Is it alright if we contact you again? You would most likely only have to deal with Rainer or myself. Maybe Donasek or Middle too. The fallen angels will, of course, respect your autonomy, but you've proven yourself to be a valuable ally to us. Kalwerner said hopefully. The brunette shrugged. So long as you keep me out of the politics, then I guess that's fine. We'll be in touch. The blue-haired angel said with a seductive grin before walking out of the house. After they were gone, Issei went to take a shower. He mentally cursed himself as he thought over what he just agreed to. I can already tell this is going to escalate into something way more than they're saying it is. Given our luck, I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case. Kaguya said before continuing to reassure her comma. And I wouldn't stress over it too much, partner. Sooner or later, you're going to have to reveal yourself anyway. Yeah, but I wish it was after I was done with high school first. Guo Academy. Issei pulled into school and was surprised by the absence of both Zo and Dadaoji. That's weird. Why are they not here yet? I'm already late. Issei thought, confused, before he entered the school and made his way to his class. He could detect quite a few devils spying on him from various angles and vantage points. Devils watching me? 5. 6. I wonder whose servants they are. Issei thought as he pressed on toward his classroom. Upon walking inside, his teacher immediately turned towards him, annoyed. Haidu-san, you're late. Please try to make it to class on time. Sure thing. Issei said half-heartedly as he sat down and immediately zoned out before receiving texts from them, both that Zo was going to be helping her mom out at the hospital today. Dadaoji was going to do some more training since she wanted to train in her technique to master the Eight of Death. After homeroom, the speaker turned on. Issei Haidu, please report to the student council room immediately. An announcement sounded over the school broadcast. He snapped out of his daze when he heard the announcement. Must be the president wanting to talk to me. Without a word, he left his classroom and quickly made his way to the student council room, where he met with none other than Sona Citri. The dark-haired devil princess adjusted her glasses briefly as Issei walked into the room. Ah, Haidu-san, thank you for coming. I apologize for calling you out of class, but I wanted to talk to you in private and I can never seem to catch up with you after school. Why are the lights off in here? Is this a sex thing for you? Issei asked as he looked around the dark room. His senses told him that they were completely alone and that this room was soundproof. Sona held up her hand while trying to control herself and not stutter. Please have a seat and make yourself comfortable. Issei did as requested and sat down across from her. He crossed his arms and immediately put his feet up on her desk a moment later. I mean, I get it if you wanted to get laid, but I think there's a number of facilities that you could ask or call to give up your. This isn't a sex thing. Sona shouted, unable to ignore his rude behavior, and started speaking in a calm voice. I'm sure you're probably wondering why I called you here. Yeah, your little blue-haired friend said you would contact me and my friend soon. Issei replied. Blue-haired friend? Sona tilted her head uncertainly. Yeah, the tall girl. Kinda tomboyish. Blue hair, blue eyes. Apparently one of yours. Issei clarified. You mean Tsubasa? Did she approach you? When was this? Sona asked, confused. Issei cocked his head at her. Yesterday after school. I thought you knew that. She said you sent her to tell me that you had something important to discuss. I never authorized her to approach you. In fact, I told all the members of my peerage to stay out of your way after you hurt Saji. Sona said, surprised, which made the tailed beast scoff at her incompetence. Well, I guess you'll have to ask her about that. Regardless, what do you want? Issei got to the point. I'm sure you're well aware of this by now, but I am not human. Sona began until Issei interrupted her. But guess. No wonder you're in your third year. Issei said sarcastically, making Sona pinch her hand. She ignored his sarcasm and continued. I am a high-class devil of the Citri family and its heir. I and every member of my peerage are devils. We mostly consist of the school council and a few odd individuals around the school. The Occult Research Club is part of the Gremory peerage headed by Ria's Gremory. You've no doubt seen her around school. She is the popular girl with the long red hair. That to the point. Issei sighed in annoyance with the tailed beast snoring at this point before Kaguya woke them up. Very well. I want to ask you before anything else. What is your relationship with those new girls in this school? Sona asked. Zo and Dadaoji. They're my friends. What do they have to do with me? He wondered. Listen, Haidu-san. Sona said before glaring at him. I don't know what you are, and I've been very lenient in letting you do what you want around this school, but if I am to continue allowing you to stay here, then I feel I at least deserve a bit of trust on your part. Sona explained calmly and respectfully. Issei sighed as he agreed to this. Fair enough. I suppose that's reasonable. Are you intending to finish high school at Kuo Academy? Of course, preferably without any trouble. Issei replied. That's good to know. Sona asked before asking about his social standing with allies. Do you have any allies? Sona asked him curiously. Issei shook his head. Not really. I never needed any. Then I would like to make you an offer. Would you be willing to? Sona wasn't able to finish her sentence before Issei interrupted her. No thanks. I mean, don't get me wrong. For a spoiled little devil princess, you aren't half bad, but I'm not interested in being anyone's servant. Issei stated strongly. Sona sighed. Well, that makes things more complicated. If I can't protect you, then you're fair game. Fair game? For who? He asked. Lord Surziches is worried about the situation here and decided to send someone to keep an eye on the school due to you and your friends. I have no idea who it is or when they'll be here. So, it would benefit you to stay out of trouble for a while. Sona explained. Thanks for the warning. Issei replied as he stood up. Before you go, can I ask you a question? Sona requested. What about? Issei said as he looked down at her. Sona looked at him, somewhat confused. Is there a reason you're so opposed to joining my peerage other than not wanting to take orders? Do you have some inherent bias against devils? What's the point? I'm half dragon and human. What do I gain by joining your side or any side? Issei countered while sticking to his plan to pretend to be a half-breed. Power. Influence. Allies, to name a few reasons. Eventually, someone will target you if you're not careful. Without political backing, you won't have any support. Sona responded sharply. I'll take my chances. Issei said before making his way to the exit. He glanced back at her before opening the door. By the way, tell that Grimory girl to stay away from my house. Otherwise. Sona's eyes widened in shock as she felt a massive aura leave Issei's body before he glared at her with the fury of 1,000 demons. She'll sadly disappear without a trace. Issei said before he closed the door and left. After his little talk with Sona, he decided to return to class despite not wanting to. The rest of the day progressed rather boringly, but at least nobody was bothering him, which was how Issei liked it, while he did miss his friends. End of the day. Issei let out a sigh of relief upon walking out of the school. He was getting so sick and tired of sitting around all day in classrooms. The day would be an awesome day to see Red. The big guy is probably wondering where I've been lately. Issei thought to himself as he smiled at the motorcycle on the rack before seeing a note on it. Dear Issei. I fixed your bike and made it even better for your style. Stay calm since I still want to race you in the dimensional gap. Signed, the most baddest being in the world. R. Issei smirked at this while Kaguya groaned. Oh great. It's that death trap again. Oh, you're just scared because you didn't like it when I popped a wheelie. I saw my life flash before my eyes. Kaguya said while hugging herself since the day she almost died. Again. Issei snickered at a response before he got on and began to drive off. With eager exhilaration, Issei drove as fast as he could back home. Unfortunately, he caught some bad traffic about 2/3 of the way there. A bunch of cars and other vehicles were backed up, much to his anger. He growled as he aggressively revved up his motorcycle. Move it. Looking over towards the sidewalk, Issei could see a lot of people wearing cosplays walking in the direction where traffic was jammed. His eye twitched for a moment. Is there a convention going on or something? Seriously, what the fuck is this? Several seconds they were past as Issei began to boil in anger, which was a side effect of being around many reckless and easily angered individuals. I hate traffic. Without even a shred of concern for the consequences, Issei immediately fired up his bike and drove onto the sidewalk, bypassing the countless immobile cars in traffic. Woohoo. Son Goku, Shukaku, Kurama, Jiki, and Matatabi cheered in excitement as they loved the feel. In contrast, the others were huddled with Asobu, trying to stay alive, even though they were much tougher. The people on the sidewalk all gasped and screamed as Issei shot them with deadly speed and aggression. His riding skills were masterful as he threaded the needle through the crowds of people on the sidewalk, thanks to his training in the dimensional gap, while avoiding multiple traps set by Shukaku and Red. When Issei finally reached the main intersection where the convention was taking place, he popped a wheelie and revved his bike as loud as possible, causing flames to erupt from his exhaust. His arrival scared nearly everyone around him as he pulled right up to the front of the convention building and stopped to find out what it was. Guoanime Convention. Huh. When did this town start having these? And why the hell is the traffic this bad? Issei thought curiously as he began to calm down. Hey, are you going to the convention? A cute voice asked, causing Issei to turn his head to its source. The girl with black pigtails and dark violet eyes ran across the street and was now standing next to him. She was beaming with enthusiasm as if she was having an amazing day. I would have asked you for a ride if I knew you were coming here, the girl said cheerfully. I saw you ride by on the sidewalk. That was so cool. Issei immediately glared at her when he noticed she was wearing a magical girl cosplay. He revved his bike up at her, hoping to scare the girl away, but much to his surprise, she seemed unfazed. I'm not here for the convention, I'm trying to get home, but thanks to this stupid traffic, I can't, Issei said, annoyed. Not if I just want to fly out of here and leave my bike. Or risk being seen carrying it, Issei mentally added. Well, that's a bummer, but if you're stuck here, why don't you just go to the convention? The girl suggested eagerly. Issei glared at her. I don't have a ticket and I sure as hell won't be waiting in any lines. Well, I'm here alone. My sister didn't want to come with me so I have an extra ticket. Do you want to go with me? You look like you're a lot of fun, she said as she generously held up a VIP ticket for him at the convention. Issei stared at her for a moment. This girl was gorgeous despite being a magical girl wanted, but something about her looked familiar to him. She also reeked of some weird smelling perfume, much to his displeasure. I kind of have somewhere to be, Issei said as he looked for an opening in traffic. A huge crowd of people were watching him and this girl interact, much to his discomfort. Issei detested people staring at him like this. Please. The girl pleaded before Isobu spoke to Issei. Look. As much as I understand your desire to train in high school and that you should be enjoying yourself, what's the rush? It doesn't look like traffic is going to clear up until all these damn cosplayers get to the convention anyway. Plus, that is a VIP ticket, it looks like, and the girl is very generous, Isobu said, making Issei cave in after his talk. Aw, screw it. I guess the dimensional gap can wait a few more hours. There we go, now have fun on your date. It's not a date. With heavy reluctance, Issei got off his motorcycle and sighed. I'll hang out for a little bit, but only until the traffic clears, though. Yay. The girl cheered with excitement as she waved her cosplay wand around. Sparkle shine, your command is mine. Issei immediately felt embarrassed as dozens of people in the crowd cheered and were taking pictures of her and him by default. Thankfully, most of them seemed too afraid to get closer due to her proximity to the delinquent biker. Issei rolled his eyes at her as she handed him her spare VIP ticket. The moment he had it, he immediately started walking away from her and made his way to the front of the line. Hordes of jealous onlookers watched with disbelief as the asshole who just showed up on a motorcycle was now skipping the line to go straight into the convention. Hey, wait for me. The pigtail magic girl called out to Issei as she chased behind him. The males in the crowd seemed to be burning with even more envy at the sight of Issei not only skipping the line, but also having the sexiest cosplayer there following him around. Who the fuck is that pretty boy? Ouch. Who does he think he is? Why is that beautiful, magical girl following a punk like that? Issei heard one angry guy mutter. Wilkheim, can we have a picture? An otaku man cried out anxiously. You look so amazing. The girl kindly waved to the onlookers and briefly posed before following behind Issei. As the two of them passed inside, they quickly noticed that the convention was packed. The pigtail girl's eyes lit up with excitement as she pointed at something. Look, look. They have Milky Spiral 7 figurines. Come on, let's go look at them. Before Issei could protest, the overly excited girl grabbed his hand and dragged him over toward a section on the convention floor that seemed to be selling things that matched the anime she was cosplaying. Everyone within a 200-meter radius was staring at them as if they were celebrities. Issei was starting to feel awkward as random people kept walking up and asking for pictures of the girl. I should ditch this chick and see the drag so ballsy in Naruto section, Issei thought as he slipped into the background of the ravenous crowd that was now swarming the girl for pictures. After about 15 minutes, I was past before Issei found stuff that was more up his alley. He looked over the new area for a moment. I should have plenty of money, but I don't feel like hauling a ton of stuff back home. Huh. That banner would look really good in the garage next to my toolbox. There you are. A loud and excited voice announced as Issei felt someone jump on his back. What the? Issei said, confused, before realizing it was the black pigtail girl again. Would you leave me? I was so sad when I couldn't find you. The girl said in a cutesy, dramatic way. Huh. I knew girls would jump on him, but I didn't mean it literally, Shukaku said, making the guys laugh at their brother's situation, while Kaguya seemed to be staring at the girl's bust and compared it to her own. At least mine are real, Kaguya said with a pout, mad that some big tits cosplayer beat her. The crowd of desperate fanboys and fangirls that were following her immediately froze up when Issei turned around. Is that her boyfriend? I'm so jealous, some overly animated man cried out. Milky Heim, can we take a picture? Milky Heim. People kept calling out to the girl. Issei was now pissed off that these people wouldn't go away and growled. Back off right now. The surrounding area went deathly silent as the crowd of people chasing after the girl on Issei's back were now scared. Issei cracked his fists and took a deep breath. Get lost. She's taken enough goddamn pictures for you. The only way she's posing for another picture is if you go through me. Nobody dared to tempt Issei's fury as the crowd scattered like roaches in all directions. Despite her kind disposition towards the fans in general, the pigtail girl seemed somewhat relieved that Issei had sent them away. Are you going to get off me or what? Issei asked as he turned his head back and looked at the girl still on his back. She beamed and shook her head. No. I don't want to lose you again in here. Especially if you're going to protect me. Why are you still hanging out with me anyway? Issei asked her, confused. Because I think you're cool. The girl said as she held onto him even tighter. The feeling is not mutual. Issei said, shaking his head. AWWW, you're so mean. The girl said with over-exaggeration. Man, that perfume she's wearing is overpowering this clothes. Issei thought, distracted before the girl gasped and pointed to another booth. Ooh, is that drag so ballsy? We should go check that out. Issei looked back at her, surprised. You like drag so ballsy? Who doesn't? The girl countered, beaming with excitement, which made Issei take a mental note. Huh. Maybe she's not as bad as I originally thought. Issei noted as the two of them went over to check out more merchandise. The tailed beasts were laughing at this, and before Issei knew it, the two of them were having a blast going around and buying random things they didn't need. After about an hour of that, the girl insisted that they go to a few panels, and before Issei realized where the time went, he ended up spending the rest of the day there. It was only when the convention was closing for the day that he actually realized the time. Upon walking outside and seeing the nighttime sky, Issei shook his head disbelievingly. I can't believe I spent the whole afternoon here. That was so few. The girl emphasized each word louder and louder as she latched onto his arm while they were walking out. Yeah. I actually had a good time. Surprisingly. Issei said, almost not believing his own words. Did I seriously just hang out with some weirdo otaku magical girl all afternoon? This has been the weirdest week ever. Issei thought to himself. I never get to do that many things at conventions because everyone always just wants to take pictures of me. Going with you was a great idea. You scared everyone away with your mean, scary face. She giggled. Well. Thanks for the ticket, Milky Heim. This was a somewhat pleasant surprise. Issei said more sincerely than he expected to. Oh. I never told you my name, did I? Milky asked, shocked as she placed a hand on her chin. To think of it. I was so excited all day I never bothered asking your name either. Milky said as she looked at him anxiously. Issei hi do, but don't bother remembering it. We'll probably never see each other again. Issei replied skeptically. But what if I want to see you again? Milky asked childishly. Issei laughed at her antics. By this point, he was almost used to her energetic innocence. My real name is Serafal. Serafal said, smiling at his reaction. Issei looked at her curiously. No surname. You and I are on a first name basis. Call me Serafal, and I'll call you Issei-chan, K. She chirped. Okay. Nice to be meeting you then, Serafal. Issei waved as he headed to his motorcycle. Issei was amazed it didn't get towed and shook his head. Damn, I'm lucky. As he mounted his souvenir bags and got on his motorcycle, he looked up and saw Serafal standing right next to him. She shuffled around for a moment and was staring at him. Issei-chan, if it's not too much trouble. Can I go for a ride on your bike? Please. She said hopefully. Don't you have to go home or something? He asked, confused. Yeah, but maybe you could give me a ride. She asked with a suggestive smile. Issei sighed. I'm going to lose all my street cred if people see some otaku magic girl riding with me. The girl gave him the most mole look she could muster as she locked her fingers. Issei-chan. Don't make me beg you. Issei looked at it and tried not to give in, but recalling the girls doing this made Issei cave in. Fine. Get on. Issei said, and half a second later, the energetic Serafal was in his backseat. She tied her bags on the back of the bike and immediately wrapped her arms around Issei's waist. Come on, let's go fast. Serafal said happily. Are you sure you can handle it? This thing is the fastest motorcycle in the world. Custom built. Issei replied. Go, go, go. Serafal cheered, causing Issei to take that as a yes. Deciding to test the limits of this girl's resolve, he started to drive recklessly and dangerously at high speed through the city. I'll take her over the bridge. Issei chuckled to himself as he came up to a large bridge with arches over it. He drove off the road and onto the arch before climbing high on the beam above the bridge. Once he got higher, he popped a wheelie. Issei half expected this girl to freak out or scream, but surprisingly, she seemed overjoyed at his daredevil stunt. Still think I can't handle it? Seraphil asked as she spread her arms out and enjoyed the view from the bridge arch. We're about to find out. Issei grinned as he pressed a switch in front of him, causing a jettison of flames to spew out of the exhaust. Seraphil immediately grabbed his waist again as the bike shot forward even faster. Issei drove as fast as possible until reaching the top of the bridge arch before launching off the side. His motorcycle flew a considerable distance through the air before landing on top of a parking garage nearby. Seraphil let out a shriek of joy the entire way. Boo-hoo. Hell yeah. I like this girl. Son Goku yelled while the others agreed with him, except for the same-tailed beasts. Upon landing and slowing down, he glanced back to check on her. Seraphil looked like she was super happy and wasn't afraid at all. Issei was genuinely impressed by her resolve and laughed. You're the first girl I've ever taken on that stunt. I'm shocked you didn't scream or cry. Are you kidding me? That was amazing. You're amazing. Seraphil said, smiling, which made Issei blush a bit since that was a feat that not even Zou or Tadauji was capable of doing. I never thought I'd meet a nice human girl who liked drag so ballsy and going on daredevil motorcycle rides. She's a fucking gem. Despite the magical girl shtick, I think I really like this girl. Issei thought as he stared at her. So, where do you live, Seraphil? I should probably take you back now. It's getting late. Issei said, shaking off his distraction. Oh, I live at this little house with some nice people hosting my stay. It's close to Kuo Academy. Down 3rd Street. She replied. Issei nodded before driving down the parking garage and making his way toward the location specified. As they pulled up to a red light, Issei glanced back at her for a moment. Seraphil is a strange name. Are you an international or something? Something like that. My sister lives here, so I came to take care of her for a while. Seraphil explained. That's good of you, I guess. Issei replied as the light turned green. After driving for a bit longer, he finally reached her street. She pointed at a massive house. There, that little house is where I stay. Issei stared at it. Little house. This is where all the rich people in this town live. Actually, isn't this devil territory? That's unfortunate for her. Hopefully, they don't do anything to her while she's here. Upon dropping Seraphil off, Issei was surprised when she hugged him. Today was really fun, Issei-chan. We need to hang out again really soon, okay? Sure thing. He said as he locked a brief gaze with her. She smiled as she hugged him. Oh, by the way, do you have a cell phone? I want your email. Yeah. Here. Issei took his phone out. His was red, and hers was pink, unsurprisingly. After they exchanged emails, Seraphil picked up her bags and stood there uncertainly for a moment. We can do this again, right? Seraphil asked hopefully. I'd be down for that. Issei nodded approvingly. Sparkle, shine, your command is mine. See you around, Issei-chan. Seraphil cheered before kissing Issei's lips, shocking the tailed beasts in him, until Issei just nodded and drove away. That was my very first kiss. Issei said while Son Goku decided to ask. So when's the wedding? Oh, shut up. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching and supporting. Until the author add more chapters. Take care.